back so soon. I knew you would not falter.
Good evening, everybody. I hope my voice is not too rough. It's, at this point, I'm feeling a little bit more of just a tickle in my throat and I'm coughing a lot. But my actual voice qualities kind of seem to be at least at a fairly high percentage of what they normally would be. Not feeling great, to be completely honest. But I know, obviously, we missed Friday, and it was really looking like I wasn't going to be able to stream today, but I wanted to make a specific effort to do so. So I can't make any promises in terms of how long the stream is going to be today. And I normally, like, if I miss a stream for whatever reason, or if I'm late, or, you know, or just things haven't gone the way that I planned, I normally try to make up for it by doing something new or doing something, you know, longer, or just generally, like, try and address the balance, because I know, especially, like, with the current format of 2 days, you know, missing 1 day means that half of my streams are gone for that week. And as much as I try to do something like do a makeup day, the schedule is the way that it is, specifically because those are the 2 best days for streaming. So, hey T. Clark. So, I will say, you know, while we're enjoying this really cool animation they put between the 2 different rounds, I'll talk a little bit about what's happening this week. Because there's actually a very specific reason why I wanted to try and get as much rest and as much, basically as much, how do I put this? Like, basically I wanted to take as much stress off of my voice as I could, specifically because... Oh, my mic is crackly. Thank you, T. Clark. Just a moment, folks. I should be able to get that fixed. Hopefully that's better. I actually was having... So I know I said I would be up in about an hour based on Twitter. That was a little optimistic because I was having audio problems even setting up. So hopefully that fixes everything for you guys. If not, let me know. And there's actually a trick that I'm going to do on my system preferences to try and give me a little more RAM. Well, obviously I can't physically install more RAM, but it can give me a little bit more memory for the streaming stuff to use, which I think is the reason why the crackle happens. Wow. Okay. So hopefully that's, excuse me. Hopefully that addresses it. Alright, so things that are coming up. It looks like people are filing in pretty quickly today, so maybe this is a lesson. If I want everybody to come in quickly, I skip a stream. Is that how it works? Don't worry, I'm not gonna, not planning on doing that. But as far as what's going to be happening in the oncoming week, Shadowrun Hong Kong is going to be released on the 20th of August at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I believe that's Wednesday? Oh wait, today's Monday, so Thursday. But basically my intention is, so the way that it'll work for this stream will be if they allow me to preload it. So for instance, I believe this happened with Binding of Isaac. You were allowed to install the game, but you would not actually be able to open it because of the lock that they put on the game. So if they do that for Shadowrun Hong Kong, then I'm going to download it as early as I can, and then we will start playing the game literally at 10 o'clock, August the 20th. If I need to download the game, then that probably, I don't know how big it is, but let's assume an hour, so probably it'll be around 11 o'clock. I'm obviously not going to stream me downloading it, because that's just going to, 1, destroy the quality of the stream, which is already pretty low, but 2, it's also going to make the download take longer. So I suspect probably, I mean, it's safe to assume that if by Wednesday evening, if there isn't a preload option, then I'm going to have to be downloading it. So I'll probably tweet out something to that effect. But basically, I will be breaking my usual schedule, and I will not just be playing Shadowrun Hong Kong on August the 20th, but I will be doing a big, substantial playthrough of it on the 10th. I suspect that there will be more to that game than I can do in a single sitting, and I have no intention of doing like a 24-hour stream for something like that. But for those of you who are there to watch it, I know it kind of gave me a chance to ham it up a little bit as far as narration and dialogue are concerned. Some people pointed out that apparently my narration is quite different when I'm playing Crusader Kings as opposed to Shadowrun Dragonfall. And just generally, I'm really looking forward to it. It was something I recommended on a Kickstarter. I don't know if you guys supported it or not, but the fruits of those labors have now come about. So I'm really looking forward to playing that. That's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. And then on top of that, I do eventually want to do the Talos Principle before summer is over. I was actually going to try doing that now. By the way, I noticed that Mr. Pornstar is hosting us today, so thank you very much for that. But other than that, we've got... I do want to do the Talos Principle. The problem with that game is that it doesn't have save slots, so I can't play one game and then open up another one. And I have not completed the game yet. So the dilemma that I have would be, like, Crusader Kings 2 is nice because I have multiple saves, so I can do my Charlemagne playthrough, and if I want to play Crusader Kings 2 on something that's not a Friday, I just open up a new save, and, you don't miss out on anything. If I open up Talos Principle, like, I really like playing that game. I don't play it that often because generally my gaming time that's not on stream has been sort of cut back a bit. But if I... if I want to play the Talos Principle, that means that I either need to, not play it on stream, or I need to start over a new save for stream, and then I cannot play the Talos Principle except when I hit the start streaming button. So in this case, I thought I would complete the game. The way that I've worked it out is I would complete the single player game first, and then I would do a single player run through for the stream, and then I've already downloaded the DLC, Road to Gehenna, and in that case I would do that blind for the stream. That sort of seemed to be the best way to give everybody the experience. And most games seem to allow preloading these days. I'd be pretty surprised if we could. Yeah, I would suspect so too, but obviously I'm not going to make a commitment that is not mine to make. By the way, I suspect probably there's a bit of a delay in this stream, so sorry guys. Yep, that's good to see. Yeah, this game is a really cool game. It's called Hand of Fate, and I think it's time we jumped into it. So we're going to do something a little bit different this time. We're going to go into story mode again because we still need to beat the dealer. So for those of you who are new to this game, what this game is, I'll explain the basic mechanics when we go through it, but basically you work through the cabinet from each of the champions of the dealer who was floating the cards around through telekinesis. When you complete a row, you get one of the treasures, and this will increase your strength. So for instance, once we got the goblet, stronger counterattacks, that's a benefit to me, increased stun, new starting gear. Bandit strength increase is an increase of the enemies, skeleton strength increase, and bandit throwing knives. All of these things are buffs to enemies as well as buffs to you. So basically just, it's a really nice little learning mechanic that they put in. So like when you start with the Jack of Dust, I believe, yeah, you have nothing, and you learn the game. It's actually very straightforward. I think I don't know if this is a complaint people have had or an observation that's made, but the opening levels are actually very easy. As you are going to learn by this final card, the dealer, this game does not stay easy. So, and by the way, yep, I wasn't sure which name you're referring to. Is it the response or the DLC for the Talos Principle, I guess? So each of these cards are basically each of the opponents that you choose, the champions of the dealer and now the dealer himself, are going to have sort of unique traits that will make them a challenge. So in this case, there's the dealer's curse. The player receives a curse at each new dungeon level. So this means as I go through the level, I'm going to get more demerits, more things that will hurt me. And then excommunication, the player cannot receive any more blessings. And in this case, because you get it at the start, you don't get any blessings. So in this case, it's all punishments, no benefits.
For eons I have waited for an appropriate player. It seems there are more eons ahead.
The game definitely calls you out for taking too long, but this is a stream, I like talking. And then in addition to the fact that you've got these curses that they'll give you, there are challenge cards that get put in. So there's the Call of the Shadows and Devilish Traps. These are individual cards that they're, because they're in a deck, there's some positive probability that they will come up over the course of your dungeon exploration. And in this case here, 3 of them are added. So basically, 6 of the cards in the deck are going to be ones that are unique to the dealer, and because he's presumably the last boss of the game, actually are probably some of the nastiest. There's also a little bit of lore, so there have been dealers, but there have been dealers before, but none so adept at the game as his. So. Oh, Mr. Pornstar got you. By the way, I see you've been having a ton of fun with that game, The Last Federation, that you told you about. I actually noticed, so I saw a bunch of screenshots for The Last Federation on Steam. It was funny. One of the photos actually looked a lot like something from.
Leave. There is no joy for you here.
One of the screenshots actually looked a lot like one of the art pieces for Dungeon of the Endless. I forgot to mention, but that's cool. I haven't actually spent as much time looking at it as I had intended, but that was partly because I've been sick and not really in any place to do anything. So one thing we're going to do a little bit differently this time around. Oh, and yep, okay, Mr. Pornstar. Yeah, specifically, I don't think he's in chat right now. He's MRXXXV, but he insists on being called Mr. Pornstar, and who am I to say differently? So one thing that we've done in this game so far is just sort of let the game build a deck for us. We're actually going to go a little bit deeper this time, because I have a feeling that some of the problems that I've run into on the dealer have been that I am getting, like, the benefits that I'm getting are not necessarily the ones that I work best with. So I'm actually going to go into all of these options here and see if we can maybe customize the hero a little bit to make the game more, a little bit more suited to my playstyle. Endor's, great to see you. We're actually just talking about the Talos Principle. I know you're a big fan of that. Not sure when I'm going to start it, but I do want to play it as soon as I can. I really need to get on finishing it. So in this case, we've been playing as the adventurer, no specific upgrades or rule changes. In this case, I'm not going to do the apprentice. That's easy mode. Players stronger in combat, enemies are weaker, and some achievements cannot be unlocked. And that is specifically why we will not do the apprentice. So the Warlord has faster combat, stronger enemies, stronger counterattacks, and bandits have throwing knives. Well, that's kind of like what we have already. Soldiers training. It's highly skilled at combat but unlucky, so the chance cards become more difficult. And I do increased damage as the combo meter rises. That's tempting, actually. Shadow Agent. Chance card events are easier, and combo multipliers are reduced. So that's basically the opposite. And it looks like he is wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. We've got the Nomad. No inventory. Cannot carry extra equipment. Equipment that would normally go into your inventory is automatically sold. Unless the Nomad's Desert gives you some incredible bonuses, I'm not too crazy about that. Iron Hunger, discarded equipment grants iron ore, a special food that is all that this fate can consume. Curse of the Lion Prince, max health. Start with low max health, but increases with each defeated enemy up to a max of 200. I think I'm going to try this one, actually. I think this is exactly what I need for the... This seems exactly what I need for for the dealer. I'm just going to read the other ones, though. So we've got the Explorer's Gift. Can't wear any heavy armor. Moving over completed encounter cards costs no food. That's not bad, but I don't think food's been a problem for me. Merchant Guard. Reveal merchants. So we get to see certain cards when we go onto a floor. Ambush Curse. Leaving a level with ambushes unencountered causes you to be cursed. Well, I'm already getting heavy curses, so I'm not crazy about that one. Reduced prices is very tempting. And Shop Combat, you will always be ambushed at the Tinker, Shop, and Jeweler. Hoarder's wow, there's a lot of cards here. Hoarder's Desire. The more spare equipment you hoard, the more health you have. That's another tempting one, but... in Hoarding Power, you do more damage in combat when you have more spare equipment. So this is also a tempting one. And then finally, the Monk. Gold cards have no effect. And you are rewarded for slaying the undead. I have no idea what rewarded means, though. And if it's a blessing, it doesn't mean anything. So let's try Curse of the Lion's Pride. Oh, sorry, Curse of the Lion's Prince. Alright. I believe this is my present deck. So I'm kind of curious if I should go through what I have already and remove, or if I should take a look at what I want in the upper level and then add. Okay, so not crazy about Mercenary Contract. Feathered Ice. During combat, press 2 to create a blast of freezing ice centered around... Okay, those kinds of things I like. +1 damage for 20 gold in their possession to a maximum of +10. So these ones I'm okay with. Whenever they receive healing, they gain +1 gold. I mean, okay, not the best. Holy Ring. After killing the undead, player receives +5 health. That's tempting. Ring of Peace. After any encounter in which the player did not enter combat, the player receives 1 gold for every blessing they possess. Well, I definitely... I'm not going to use that one because I'm not going to have any blessings. Oops. Ring of Survival. Every third combat player receives 20 health. That is definitely a very tempting one. T. Clark finally got your first win in the last Federation by getting most of the races to join, but the last race was a constant thorn in your side, so you killed their Hive Queen. So they'd come to the surface, then Orbital bombarded them to extinction. Galactic Peace, 3 global genocide. Well, this is, I mean... T. Clark, come on, man. Do you not watch Crusader Kings? This is exactly the kinds of tactics that I advocate. All right. So if I want balance, I need to add, I guess, another one of these kinds of curses and 2 more rings. So let's see what we have for options here. We've got a Trader's Ring, which we don't know what it does. Same deal. Poverty. When the ring is sold, the player's gold is lost but receives 1 max health for every 5 gold lost as a result of the sale. That's a tempting one, except for the fact that I kind of already went for health. So let's see if we can get something better, otherwise maybe we'll consider the Ring of Poverty. Ring of Justice. Using a weapon ability causes the player to be fully healed and for the ring to be destroyed at the end of that combat. I think we can do better. Ring of Enlightenment. New. Plunderer's Ring. With every gain card, they receive 1 gold and 2 health. Tempting, but we can still do better. 1 gold per ring after every encounter. Well, probably not going to have that many rings, to be completely honest. None of these are driving me crazy. Guildmaster's Ring, which will give us 1 food whenever they enter a shop. I mean, that sounds okay, but I've got there's a benefit that I have from my... from leveling through the game, which actually gives me quite a bit of gold and food already. Bashing Ring sounds good, but it's a new one, so we don't quite know what we're working with yet. So in this case, I'm actually just going to go for the Ring of Poverty, and I think we will keep what we have. I mean, there's an interesting synergy for taking like the Golden Ring of Pain and then adding one of these other ones, but I don't actually necessarily want to have these things combo together. I'd rather have strong individual rings that I might get, so I don't necessarily mind having them work at cross purposes. So we had 3 artifacts here. Unless I see something in the artifacts that blows my mind, I'll probably just keep it at that. Warcry, perform my most damaging attacks without building a combo. Tempting, but not quite enough for me to change the structure of my deck. Well, I can't utilize Global Genocide if I don't own the world, but I do my best. Folded Steel, attack faster for a short duration. We'll move and attack faster. We can probably get some equipment that does that for us. I've never used Damocles. Arrow Cutter, magical shield that stops arrows. Well, I mean, I should be able to... I never do, but I should be able to actually block those on my own. Consuming Shame, all weapon attacks are enchanted with a powerful poison that taints the victim's mind and body. I'm okay with that. Alright, so we only have 2 gloves right now. We've got Hag's Wraps. Each strike inflicts a curse, slowing and weakening the opponent. Works for me. And Fleet Cuffs increases the wearer's movement speed, so I like that. Let's see if we can do better with gloves. Assassin's Greed. With these equipped, every successful combat grants the player some gold. Okay, but not so much that I want to ditch one of these, and I'm not sure if there's anything else in here. And the Mage Gloves, killing an enemy launches 3 magic missiles at remaining opponents. Now that's tempting for sure. I will keep this one in the back of my mind. I can't think of something to replace it with. Maybe like the Consuming Shame or the Inferno Potion. I'm going to put a question mark on the Mage's Gloves for now, and we'll consider it. So next up we've got helms. Again, these are the helms that we don't presently have in our possession. It looks like we've got quite a few already, so let me just... So Angel's Wing should make me faster. I know this is a little boring, guys, but if we do this once, we won't need to do it again. Fool's Gold, on every weapon ability usage, all bandits are stunned for 3 seconds. Every bandit killed nets the player 2 gold. Tempting, but very specific. It's Unique Helm upgrades class of your armor from light to medium or medium to heavy. Helm of Reflection, upon reflecting a projectile, this helm creates a small force explosion. Heron's Antlers. Lizardmen take double damage from players' attacks. Again, another very specific one. Mage's Scorn. Cooldowns are reduced by 10, but damage is also reduced by 10. I think we'll ditch that one, actually. Scavenger's Cap. Whenever the player gains food, they will receive 45% extra food. That's a tempting one, although, again, I think I'm at a point now where I don't need to worry as much about food. So we'll see if we can maybe get something a little bit better in. And then the food... I mean, a lot of these helms are not that fantastic. Soldier's Furor, attack speed is increased by 10%, but cooldown time is also increased by 10. So I'm okay with that because I'm going to be doing, primarily attacks. So that's kind of the opposite of what I ran into. Skeleton King Helm, a hit on a player gives the player's next attack a 25% damage bonus. The effect can stack up to 3 times, but is removed after making an attack. Well, ideally I don't get hit. I am going to get hit, but I think it's probably better that I don't wear this one. Mask of Extortion, increased attack damage based on the inverse of the player's gold. So the more poor I am, the better off I am. That might go well with the Ring of Poverty. We already did Mage's Scorn. Mage's Mask. Hits on the player have a 20% chance of creating a mage shield around them. A healing a player receives is doubled. Tempting, but not really going to work in combat. And the Explorer's Helmet reveals stairs encounter upon entering a level and grants a gold bonus for revealing every encounter on this level. That is actually a very good buff. in my opinion at least. I might reconsider my position on the Skeleton King's helm, but other than that, I'm okay with the lineup that we've got. Alright, I think I have a lot of armor. Well, not as much as I thought. Chains of Rain during combat. Strikes sustained from bows and wands have a chance to restore your cooldowns. Again, I don't like the idea of getting hit for bonuses. Berserker armor during combat. Every hit you sustain increases your speed and weapon strength. Well, again, I don't... You know, armor is best if it avoids damage. Armor of Cold. Nearby enemies are immediately slowed as the chilling effects of this armor take hold. Okay, so that one I definitely want to keep. These two I'm willing to switch out, though. So immovable object. During combat, this armor grows stronger with every blow sustained. We kind of already talked about the problems with that. Heavy armor with no speed penalty. That I definitely want. Let's switch out the Chains of Rage in exchange for Mithril. Occult Reflection. Every third blow from undead enemies is reflected back against them. That's very specific. And then the other ones are just generic. I'm not touching any of these new ones just because I think it's probably better for me not to go into the into this combat with, you know, potentially crappy items. So it looks like all of my best shields... Oh, sorry. So I've got an enormous shield. Armor level is increased. It can knock enemies down, but reduces your move speed. I generally prefer move speed to anything else, so I think I'm just going to keep these. These are actually 3 really good shields anyway, so... Don't need to do anything with those. And weapons, we've got lots of very generic ones, so I'm only going to consider the special weapons. So we've got Desperate Measures and Mortal Whimsy. This weapon randomly takes the properties of a different weapon each combat. And Desperate Measures, this mace inflicts more damage the lower the health of the wielder is. That's actually a really tempting one for the end of the... for the dealer as well, so I guess the question here is, can we afford to remove any of these other ones? Because I think all of these are fairly strong weapons. So we've got Frostfang for 25 damage. That I'd almost be willing to take out because of its low damage. What are my alternatives? 25 there. Each hit slows the target with cold, which is good, and a Cone of Ice isn't bad. Huge Hammer. Generally like that one, actually. What about Shield Breaker? 27, perform one to perform a devastating attack, ignoring the opponent's blocking position. I think we can switch that out for Desperate Measures. Now, Undead Bane is a really tough one. Fire damage on hits against the undead. Press 1 to ignite all undead enemies. So again, very specific. It's got good damage, 30, compared to the Mortal Whimsy, which is 25. So I kind of need to find something that is... You know what? So Life's Limb is a cool effect, but let's take a chance on the Mortal Whimsy. Okay. So I've got my gear. Ugh, encounters. I mean, generally... Man, what do I do about this? Just trying to think if there's any... Okay, so what I'll do... Oh, hang on, this is the one with poison. I'm just trying to find... I'm trying to think of some encounters that are easy to finish. I don't think Blood Auction is actually that good. Not for this one, at least. I kind of need the health. So we'll ditch the blood auction. Maybe Lost in the Desert. Noble Trader's gone. Helpful Priest isn't useful to me because of the... no, actually, yeah, so let's just go for any of the ones that give us blessings we need to get rid of. Lovers... And then the Stranger in the Shadows. This is basically a bunch of vampire encounters, so these are gonna... I'm basically gonna pay health in order to try and... pay health to try and get some gold, but in this case, I can't really afford... I can't afford to lose the health because I'm going to be weak at the start. Alright. So I can go for Tried and True, or I can put in some of these new ones. Let's try for Treasure Chest. Ideally, I'll get like all of the encounters that will give me that'll give me like this gear that I've set up. Surprise portal, eh? I wish I knew what these icons meant. Let's do Surprise Portal, Field of Poppies. I still need 2 more. You can go for dangerous ones. Smuggler's Wharf and Dark Crystal Part 2. I don't remember what Part 1 though was, or Part 1 was. So I'm getting a message saying that the stream is offline. Actually, let me just... Oh no, I can't check Twitter right now. Yeah, we'll go for the... Or, well, I mean, Summer Solstice sounds nice, though. Let's... Secret Society, I think I wind up... I think I wound up dying to this one last time, if I remember. This one requires more than 1 helmet, so let's ditch that and do Summer Solstice instead. Okay, so after all of that work, we're ready to take on the dealer. Also, I like the soundtrack to this game. Alright, Corrupted Soul.
The you go, the harder things become.
Negative 10 max health whenever the player gains a new curse. Oh man, this is pretty much the end of the run right away. Alright, well, we'll see how far we can get with this curse, but this is because I'm gonna get a new curse every floor, this is pretty much this is gonna be a lot harder than I thought.
Play this game. You continue to die, yet we reset the board each time. One has to wonder how it is possible to truly lose.
After every third combat, the player receives plus 20 health, so this will at least kind of bring me...
Gods look upon you favorably.
It'll top me up. The player inflicts triple damage against foes who are stunned, but I'm excommunicated, so it should get tossed away. Yep. Ratman hunting. Okay, so... in this game... Oh. You just heard me say on stream that the stream is offline? Yeah, well, it's just what Twitch told me, and then I got a notification that Panda Coalition retweeted me, so it's possible that I went offline for a little bit. And I know that, like, the numbers are always kind of vanishing too, but that is what it is. I didn't stream on Friday, so I always kind of suspect nobody will show up. All right. So basic idea of this, if you're familiar with games like FTL or something like that, this is quite similar. So the idea here is that you want to get as much as you can out of each floor to prepare you for the final fight with a boss. What's neat about this one is that you add those collectible card game elements. So you saw me kind of sifting through all these different encounters. You try and build a deck towards your strengths, possibly with some synergies built in, or possibly to make it a little bit more robust to change, which is kind of the... That's sort of the approach that I took here, which was I'm sort of assuming I'm not going to get a lot of gear, and so I can, in this case, I sort of try and get as many strong singular items rather than getting things that'll synergize. And then basically, as you go through each floor of the dungeon, basically, you're going to get these encounters. So in this case, you spend 1 food to move. Food will heal you. You also have gold and health. Health obviously being what determines whether or not you succeed. And the Ratman hunting encounter will basically, you stumble upon a Ratman hunting party prepared to defend yourself. The dealer draws you 1 monster card. In this case, again, it's a random draw in terms of what you have to face. In the case of Ratman, it is going to be a specific Ratman card that gets drawn. In this case, it's the 4 of Plague, which means I'm going to have 4 Ratmen to fight. And then the combat is third-person action. Actually, I mean, the combat's very straightforward, but I like it. And I think it's actually it's a nice-looking game. So, basically, we just run in and beat the hell out of these things. Oops. So those green lights, those green signs that you see above the rats. Oh. Oh, my max health went up because I killed somebody. Basically, the green signals behind the enemies kind of tell you that you can do a counterattack. I am sucking at this. There we go. So in this case, I got 8 health out of that encounter because I got 2 for defeating each enemy. I definitely took a lot more damage than I should have in that, but it's also been a little while since I played the game, so. The rats on the Ratman hunting card, they do look like Splinter, actually, now that you mention it. So one of the nice things about this this encounter is that it says here you recover some food from the rat carcasses. This doesn't always happen. Sometimes you get nothing, but gaining a food card is always good because again you've got the 3 resources to take you through the dungeon. You've got the gold, which you'll buy and sell gear with. Well, you won't sell gear with gold. You'll get gold for gear. But obviously there's some items that I have in here which will change the amount of damage that they do based on the gold that I have. If I don't have food and I move through the dungeon, I actually wind up taking damage rather than healing. But in this case, food will actually have a healing property as I move through the dungeon. And then, of course, we already know what health does. All right, I hate this card.
Put much stock on mysterious voices myself.
Devilish Traps. One night you wake to find yourself enclosed in a maze of traps. Everything seems, strangely familiar, like a nightmare from your childhood. A disembodied voice calls out, seemingly from the sky. Surely you're not back again. Your mind truly wishes to test your willpower. Either that or you have a very powerful enemy. A very powerful enemy indeed. The voice laughs and laughs, the sound receding away only until only you and the maze of traps remain. So this is a really difficult... I'm already bad at the maze levels, but these are exceptionally difficult versions of these maze levels. So I just wind up taking a lot of damage and desperately trying to find the exit. But I'll do my best. One of the drawbacks is that the camera angle is fixed. Every time I've tried to move the camera, it doesn't let me, which means that encounters like this are sometimes a little tricky. Whoa! And it was a dead end. You'll notice, I mean, you already saw something move down, but there's also little tells in terms of where there are traps because of something like blood on the ground. God. Yeah, I'm dead. Oh, that's the exit, okay. So yeah, definitely not a good run. But you wake the next morning wondering why you cannot shake the vision of a cat playing with a mouse and the sound of a laugh cold and cruel. Ratman hunting again. You stumble upon a Ratman hunting party. Prepare to defend yourself. The dealer draws you 1 monster card. So with 11 health... Oh my god, it's the Jack-a Blade. This is probably the end of the run. So what I need to do this time with with my low health is be very cautious and just hold back, try and do as much as get as much damage done with these traps as I can, and just only strike when there's an opportunity. Oh, I'm caught. Biggest thing I want to do is avoid getting sort of trapped in a corner. So if that means running around like a baby, I'm okay with that. Because I still only have 11 health. 5 health. So basically I just need to wait for this guy to get tired. Oh. There we go. And we finish it off. So that's one of the problems with the... I wouldn't say it's... Sorry, I should be careful about this. I shouldn't say that this is a problem with the combat, but it's one of the things that makes it a little bit harder for me to stream without the face cam, is that obviously for that one I need to concentrate a little bit more, so I don't necessarily speak as much dialogue, just because in that case the run could be over in the third encounter simply because I didn't have a lot of health. Fortunately, there's no timer though, so you get to go by. By the way, I know I'm drinking on stream, which most people consider a bad thing, but I need my precious bodily fluids. And another food card. So gain 10 food. We're certainly not hurting for food, and we'll get more when we go to this next card. Lost in the desert. Okay.
It's almost amusing to think of being lost, looking at the world like this. Your destination is merely a step onto another card.
Find yourself alone in a desert. You can wander aimlessly or pray to the old gods for salvation. Now, if I recall correctly, praying to the old gods for salvation has like a 25% chance for a success and like a 75% chance for catastrophic failure. But for the sake of showing you, yep. All right.
A choice. Select your desire.
Is it 2? Nope. Your prayers go unanswered and you are shot by an arrow. Looking up, you see bandits approaching. The dealer draws you 2 monster card and a health pain card. 3 of mages, 3 of dust, and we lose 10 health.
Nasty.
So the good news here is that if we survive this, we gain 12 max health. So the trick here is I do actually want to do as much combat as I can. And bandits are not particularly tough. Mages can be, but I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. Oops. I've pretty much blown it now. I should have been faster on blocking that attack. And to be really careful about the mages as well. You can kind of see it in the background, but basically they will put this sort of triangle on the ground, which does some fairly significant damage. That's the one. Or I guess it's like a tripod, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but... Alright, so I just don't want any part of that. The one thing I like about the mages is their character design, actually. They've kind of got these little, they've got these setups where, like, there's a harness to keep the book in front of their face at all times, which I think is a neat little touch. Again, you're busy killing them. You can kind of... That's probably the best chance to see it right there. But they're just little... I like little features like that. It's, obviously, if you have to design a character, it's neat when people put some thought into these little added features of these people that you encounter. So, oh, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, bandits! How's it going, Akadak? I played
Much good mate, do you?
Dota 2 yesterday. I played Mirana. I think like the first time I've played Mirana in a pub game. I was okay on arrows. I had a couple of embarrassing arrows where I wound up, you know, missing. And the big one for me is, like, I hit more of the arrows than I think most people starting off with Mirana do, because I know to anticipate the movement. But unfortunately, that means if I anticipate wrong, it falls even further than possible. So for those of you who haven't played Dota-style games, one of the features that people will commonly complain about is the attitude of the people who play those games. And in some cases, it is merited. There's some guy who went mid who did okay, like they were a serviceable but unexceptional Tinker was the hero that they were playing. And, you know, they managed to get a double kill, so as is my normal habit, I've more or less stopped speaking in voice chat. Because I tend to notice that if, like, the one thing about voice chat is that you will give voice to the first thing that goes into your head. It's the cost for expressing that is very low. Now, sometimes that will be complimentary, but oftentimes it is also going to be the sort of negative stuff that you say to people. So one of the things that I try to do for pubs would be to type whatever I'm writing. And the other thing about that is it forces me to be brief. So in that case, with his double kill, I did a quick NJ for nice job. Now what's interesting is that I miss one arrow, and I have to hear over the headset. So keep in mind, the only communication between me and this guy has been, me saying nice job to him. And literally, and he thanked in return. So there's no possibility of sarcasm. What is the first thing I hear over headset when the arrow doesn't hit? It's like, dude, what was that arrow? So on that one, again, remembering that if I speak with my voice, I'm more likely going to say something that will escalate the situation. I hit the enter key to do type and just give what I consider to be very good Dota 2 advice. Sometimes it's better not to say anything at all. And I get to hear this jackass talk about how I suck at this character who, incidentally, is the first time I am playing in a pub. So, that obviously earned him a mute, and I go on and continue playing the game. He's the first one to quit the game once it looks like we start losing, which is a shame because I thought it was a perfectly winnable match. My kills and deaths, I think matched. My assists was basically, I think I had participated in every kill that the team got, except for the 1 or 2 times that I died early on in the fight. and she needs to return to her former semi-carry days. I don't. I mean, I haven't played her enough to get that, but in any case, it gave me a very interesting. So I always think about, you know, what are these jackasses doing when they speak like that? Because I mean, I play with people. I've played these group games where everybody winds up hating each other at the end, which I really don't like. But these are people who know each other, so you can at least build some frame of reference. It's like, you know, they get really invested in the game, or they don't like losing, or something like that. And I looked at this guy's Dota buff profile. He's got a 47% win rate. For context, I think I used to be at 55%. I think after that game, I'm at like 54.8, something like that. But this is a guy who has lost the majority of games that he's played. He's played over twice as many as me. And so far as I can tell, never played Mirana once in his life. So this is effectively just a bunch of people sitting at their keyboard saying, how dare somebody not hit a skill shot every single time they throw it in my game? Which is why everybody says like, oh, you know, attitudes are the reason I wouldn't play Dota. That's not the right way of thinking about it, in my opinion. The way that I think about it is that is the call for the mute button, because generally the people you will encounter in those games are probably just not worth spending the time engaging with. You have to play with them, but in that case, you just mute them. You're not going to fix their attitude, so you focus on improving your own play, so then you can play with a higher class of player, or play with friends. Those games are definitely best. Those games are definitely best played with friends. Yeah, well, I mean, and as is the case with all of the games that I play like I would like to play something more diverse than support all the time. I would like, you know, I'd actually like to try offlane a little bit more often, because it seems to be a class of heroes that I really enjoy, and it seems to be a little bit more active. So like a really good example of Bristleback, like if I can, I like to channel my inner Russian and just go full YOLO. But I can't do that if I'm playing Lion, right? But the fact of the matter is that most of the time people are not good at support. Most of the time people won't even buy awards. And so I would rather like, I know that I can do relatively well in a game by, you know, my standard of, you know, support. I can be effective in a game without a lot of farm and gold and still position these idiots I'm playing with, you know, by buying wards. And yes, I realize I sound like the same kind of entitlement I'm talking about, but I mean, I can bring up the replays if you want to see what these people are like. So like the big thing is that if people are obviously not thinking, you know, it's like, oh, somebody else needs to play support every damn game, you know, I will have a better time, you know, babysitting these numbskulls, buying the wards, and just making sure that they have enough information to to minimize their stupidity, than, you know, picking anti-mage in like a Spectre Medusa, you know, what's another hard care, a Phantom Assassin style lineup, and then complaining that nobody plays support. Like, nobody cares about what I played last game. They care about what they want to play this game. And some people want to be, you know, sub 50% win rates and go mid and then yell at Miranas because they didn't hit every arrow that they throw. I think out of all the arrows that I threw, 3 of them didn't hit. So I'm okay with that. And it wasn't that I threw 4 arrows that match. I definitely got kills with arrows, so I'm certainly happy with my performance. But it reminded me of the type of person that plays MOBAs, and I really wish it would change. It's a very known fact amongst higher tier players, I'd recommend muting team players who are toxic immediately and without any chance for unmuting. Absolutely, yep. I'm starting to get to the point now where I play regularly enough that I run into people who already have mutes. Just tells me not to. With those people, I don't even go and help for ganks unless it is so obvious that I can do this thing entirely on my own. Because they're a net drag.
The wealthier you are, the more deadly you will be.
Let's try Golden Ring of Pain. I may you know, I may not get the benefit, but I like the chance of it. Let me just see what we've got here. We've got Kill the Streak. Every kill earns the player a stackable speed and damage boost. Taking any damage resets the boost. Ring of Survival. After every third combat player receives 20 health. And the Merchant's Ring. We still have a regular sword, regular shield, medium armor, and then the Lion Prince helm. Oh, I didn't know that that was a helm. Anak, I don't know if this is the same place where you got it, but I still go on the Play Dota forums, which used to be, I mean, it's still Ice Frog's site, but he doesn't participate on the forums anymore. But I know there was a Canadian player called Dragon Fist who made this really big thing about muting the other players. Now, he's not exactly the best attitude, and he's more or less failed to enter into the pro scene, although that's not necessarily a fault of anyone, because the pro scene is obviously very hard to get into.
Deck delivers again.
But I agree with it. Like, you're never going to redeem these people, right? I know there are streamers that like to do things like redeem trolls, and I think that's a very worthwhile cause. In the case of a Dota 2 game, anybody who's going to get so worked up over a team game, which means absolutely nothing. Like, these are unranked pubs that I'm playing. These people are just not worth engaging with, in my opinion. You know, I've got better things to do with my time than deal with them. So. And you should try other things. It's a damn game. This means you're supposed to enjoy it. Yeah, exactly. Although with that in mind, like, I don't mind.
All the world is a game board, and us men and women merely players.
I actually should have.
I alone do not play. I maintain the rules. You have choices, and I have predestination.
Compensation.
Are merely a rediscovery of that which you already know.
So in this case, compensation finishes the combat, lose 1 gold per 15 health. So that's a bit of a shame because that's going to work against my Ring of Pain. Hey, Smuggler's Wharf. But yeah, so I mean, I don't mind playing a role that I think I'm okay at. You know, put me on a Witch Doctor, I'm generally going to deliver. But
this token will unlock more cards if you can defeat this encounter.
Yeah, so Dragon Fist pretty much for 4 or 5 months tried to climb the leaderboards by only spamming TA. And then he kind of stopped. So T. Clark sucks at Dota, but it seems that beyond just being fun playing a variety of characters, it's more practical because that means no matter what you might get thrust into, you'd be somewhat versed in how to play. It also means that you'd know how the character plays, you'd know how to respond to it, and when you come head to head. Yeah, that's my reasoning behind playing all the heroes. I mean, if nothing else, even if you specialize, because clearly most players do specialize, I think it's important to know what all of the heroes do. Obviously, if you're just starting out, that's too much of a... That is too high of an expectation for somebody who's just starting out to, I think we're at, what, 110 heroes now? You know, to learn all of the skills for the 110 heroes. But at some point, you know...
Now, hurry up. We don't have forever.
Once you are past that, like, brand new stage, I think the expectation should be that you know what the other heroes do. And I mean... I also like Rubik, right? So it's kind of my job to know what those spells do. Clearly, you can play Rubik and not know, because in the end, you're only going to be able to respond to whatever, whatever spell was just cast. But I don't know. Like, it's, I don't know. People will play games for their own reasons. But unfortunately, there is definitely a type of mentality which, which kind of assumes that they're the only person in the game. And that's probably the one where I have the bigger problem. Sing Sing said it best. Oh, man. I keep forgetting that you like Sing Sing and I don't. At first I was worried when my team gave up 10 kills in the first 5 minutes of the game. Then I remembered that everyone who plays Dota is an idiot. I'm an idiot, my team are idiots, and most importantly, the team I'm playing against is idiots. As long as they out-idiot us, we'll win. And that's how we came back in the game, and we had no business winning. Yeah, very nice. Dragonfist channel is in Arwaga. Yeah, see, this is funny actually. So I heard about Sing Sing. I don't know if you checked out Eternal Envy's Ask FM, but he actually finally addressed Sing Sing, and I got the impression when AUI had come to or AUI had 2000 had come to UBC that he didn't like Sing Sing much. He didn't so much state it, but that was kind of what I had gotten from a tone about the conversation that we had about him. And Envy came out on Ask FM and actually talked about how, he's a good player. He's not the best, but unfortunately, because he's got ego problems and he generally demotivates the team that he's on, he's actually having a really hard time finding another team to be a part of. Unfortunately, I mean, those are the features that I've seen which have made me not be a fan of his channels. Although, with that in mind, he clearly is like one of the top Dota 2 streamers. So this is also a little bit unique to me. I'm certainly not going to tell people that they can't enjoy.
It has been called the game of eternity that we play. I didn't think that meant you'd take forever to make a decision.
Of course, doesn't mean that people can't enjoy channels that I don't necessarily like on my own. Kind of like playing a fighting game. You don't necessarily need to be well versed in how to play those heroes, but you need to know what they can do so you can play again. Yeah. All right, you found three ways you might find out about the missing ships: steal some logs, bribe a worker, or help the captain drown his sorrows. Steal the ship's log. I have no damn idea. Your attempted thievery is ill-timed and clumsy. You are quickly surrounded by the displeased denizens of the wharf. The dealer draws you 2 monster cards. So, I should have actually explained my reasoning here. This seemed to be the most likely that if I failed, I would do a combat, remembering, of course, that combat is going to increase my health. I was not expecting to go against the Jack of Dust, though, so this is probably going to turn out to be a bit of a painful one. Actually, shouldn't be. I mean, the Jack of Dust is like the first boss that you go up against in this game. I shouldn't be that worried about him, but... So many daggers. Ah, I didn't know that was the Jack. I think the Jack of Dust is actually the first, Man, I'm losing a lot of gold off of this. Alright, I gotta smarten up. Jesus. What was I gonna say? Oh god, I didn't know he was dead already. So I'm taking a lot more damage in these rounds than I normally did, but at least the plan in terms of getting my overall health is working out. I am paying a lot of gold, though. I don't quite know why I'm losing gold when I take damage, but I gotta watch that. Alright, his stream is entertaining because it's the most carefree Dota playing you'll ever see. Oh, I've seen you gotta watch No Tales. I'm sure you have, but I can remember the time he went full Devi. You can see how his ego and how he plays. Don't watch him a ton, but you have respect from a guy who could rock Meepo as hard as he did in the TI stage. Yeah, and that's like I said. I mean, I've not sworn an oath of enmity against the man, right? It's just it's not exactly my thing. And yeah, Eternal Envy talking about somebody else's ego problems is the definition of irony. Absolutely. Eternal Envy is another player who seems to have a very dedicated fan base, but I personally don't understand why, because as a personality, I've seen more negatives. Which is, again, like, I also need to be careful when I say this sort of stuff. It's like, I say this in the sense, like, I don't think they're bad people, you know, that's not my place to say. But, you know, we started talking about this based on my experience of being in a game where it's very easy for somebody to just casually throw out this entitled little, why are you missing arrows, and so on and so forth. And in the end, like, if I don't like this in the pubs that I play, why should I put up from it in my entertainment, right? If I see that a pro player is behaving that way in a pub, it's not even a question as to whether or not somebody else is going to behave that way. It's just, I don't like this guy when I'm playing with them. I don't like this guy when I'm watching them. I have to assume that other people are not as bothered by this. And certainly it's fun to have, people you look up to. But yeah, in that case, it's just, it's one of the reasons why I don't care for that. The red symbols mean an unblockable attack. Yes. Unfortunately, I was not paying attention that much during the fight. And I don't want to go to the next level yet. There's more stuff I can get. It does mean consuming a lot of food, but I'm willing to give up the food in order to get some of this extra stuff. Mr. Lionel, I think, should give me something.
I expect this will come as a welcome surprise.
You come across a broken down wagon laden with food. Its owner nowhere in sight. Call out and offer help. Oh, thank God you're here. The merchant leaps out of the bushes. Some bandits attacked my cart and I hid in the trees. Please accept this food as thanks. Gain 5 food.
A challenge for you.
I wish I could pay the 50 gold. I'm actually... I didn't want to approach a shop. I'm actually going to run into a little bit of food difficulty. I can always buy it, but we'll see what we get. We'll see what we get at the bottom. Angry Guildmaster.
Can you walk in the shadows and seek the light?
As you travel the dark streets of... I don't know if it's Stygal or Stygial. One night, a nobleman atop a mighty steed nearly knocks you down. Steal from him. I think it's 2. Success. I don't think they're bad people either. It's purely how you perceive how they work in a team setting. Yeah, so I got 1 food off of that. That was not really worth it. Although I do have my 55 gold now. You're greeted by a kind merchant who offers you some treasure to aid you in your adventures. So as cool as the Explorer's Helmet is, I love the idea of the Scorching Zeal. So it's fire and holy. Let's just double check Fortune's Breath. Third encounter does not consume food. So as cool as that is, Scorching Zeal is the way to go here.
Fire was never meant to be so controlled and so channeled.
And gain 3 food per blessing. Aww. Yeah, I mean, the big thing about players emulating the bad behavior of pros, like, in the end, I still can't quite bring myself to get too mad at the pros for that. I mean, I'll get mad at them because I don't like people behaving that way, especially in games. And I try to avoid that as much as I can in my own behavior. In the end, if people are emulating the pros, I still like that is their decision. If you can call it a decision, like obviously these are emotional reactions that people are having, but I always want to focus the ire and the attention on the person who's actually behaving poorly in a game. Even like in the end, it's like, you know, oh, I saw, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger shoot people in a movie, so I shot that person. Like in the end, only one of these two people is going to go to jail. I know that's not exactly right. Although certainly I'll tell you right now that Arteezy's behavior on stream, I think is largely an act. It's not to say that he doesn't get upset during games or something like that, but I definitely believe he is playing a character. And that's partially, you know, watching him speak outside of that environment. But also, of course, with the all of this drama going on with Kuroki and the fact that people, you know, the most interesting thing about this one is I like the fact that there are people who are normally quite good at not leaking stuff who decided to come out and back up Arteezy specifically because they knew the perceptions. You know, Kuroki has spent quite a bit of time building up this image of being very thoughtful and being, you know, a very, you know, just straight up good guy. Whereas Arteezy has the, you know, the reputation for just being this big child. And I mean, in some cases, this is a way that he's chosen to present himself in the Dota community. But on the other hand, like, once you start, like, if you read Kuroki's statement compared to Arteezy's statement, you can definitely see there's not a whole lot of new information that's given in Kuroki's. It's basically, it's like a laundry list of the things that Reddit doesn't like about Arteezy. And so I thought it was really good of his teammates to come out and say, you know, I haven't actually seen anything wrong in Arteezy's statement, but I see quite a bit that's wrong in Kuroki's. Now, if Arteezy behaved the way on a team, the way that he does on stream, I don't see people coming out to defend this guy. Whereas what's happened right now is somebody who is very conscious of their public image, and it's one that is quite counter to their private image. I don't know if this is what Monolith Charlie Yang was talking about in his post about Kelly Milkies, but he talked about how there's a lot of very well-known personalities in Dota 2 who you'd be very surprised at their behind the cameras behavior. I don't know if he was specifically referring to Kuro there. Another figure I think he might be talking about is Toby1. But in this case here, I think if Arteezy had the kinds of attitude problems that people sort of think that he has based on his persona, I don't believe that he would have as many allies as he found when it finally came down to putting your cards on the table. Fiery Hammer sign you up? Yeah. Arteezy's totally a show on stream. He saw him at TI and he literally signed things and took pictures with everyone who approached him. Twitch requires a little bit of showmanship and Arteezy knows how to play to a crowd. Definitely, yeah. I really liked... Sorry, I haven't read the dialogue for Mr. Lionel because I'm busy talking about Dota 2 drama. Do I really want... I can't give him the gold because then I won't be able to catch the Ratman. Let's give him bread from your plate. He considers the bread seriously before placing it carefully in his cloak pocket, seemingly satisfied. He then sits considering you for a while before slapping the table with his hand. Aha! I know what you need. Mr. Lionel brandishes his staff and smacks you on the head. When you come to, you find yourself in a place you don't recognize with a blanket comfortably tucked around you. Okay. I mean, it saved me some food.
We play for a token now.
But yeah, I mean, I'm forming this a little bit more from him stopping by UBC. I know I've said this to you before, but I actually found him a little bit more thoughtful and engaged than AUI 2000. Pay the Duke 50 gold. Wide decision. I shall begin the campaign against the filthy rats immediately. Also, you may take this blade. With my mercenary army, I won't need it to rely on it to protect me. This card's token is now yours. And I got the Rat Cleaver. Hits against Ratsmen.
Friends amongst mankind, yet the two have lived in close proximity throughout the ages and are more similar than either would care to admit.
This is a really tempting item, but I'm going to say no, just because it's focused on rats. No, I think after the fact, AUI said that he was quite tired at that meeting, and he kind of regretted his, his lack of engagement. He would hope to do another one. But again, it's just it's a difference just between the perception versus the reality.
More than anything, I am proud of my array of curses.
All right, back to the game. Player takes extra damage from ranged attacks. Now, the one drawback here, I mean, we did start off with 30 health. We're now up to 50 because we'll lose the 10 from getting Arcane Frailty. But I am starting to worry a little bit about this strategy just because in the end, the gains of this max health haven't really been manifesting themselves. And the biggest problem that I'm going to run into is the final fight is really where this stuff counts. And I think in the final, like if I gain health in the final fight, I'm not actually going to get it to work with.
Your currency is spent, your memories tattered and torn, formed into mere cards for us to play with.
Well, you're not commandeering the chat, but I was going to say, like, I like chatting about this stuff. I'll also say, if anybody here is bored by the Dota 2 talk, by all means, you can feel free to speak up in chat. I'll always respond to the stuff that's coming up. Like, obviously, I saw Ak in the chat, so I was going to talk a little bit about Dota 2 attitudes, just because it's, it's a common experience that we have to draw on. But certainly, if that's alienating people in the dialogue, I'm certainly happy to talk about other things. Yeah, wasn't sure if that was a trap or not. Again, you can imagine the Dota 2 player, oh god, why did you jump over that? There wasn't a trap there. Oops. Something about jumping headfirst into a rake that's a little humbling. Damn it! I really got screwed on that one. So very costly for health, but we got through it. 3 gain cards, so gold, which is good. Hopefully food. Nope. Draw 2, select 1 to keep. So we can get the Angel's Ring, or Wing, or the Skeleton King Sword. I'm less inclined for the Skeleton King Sword. It's less damage than fire, although draining health seems really good. And then there's the Angel's Wing, which will give me move speed. I'm going to go for the Angel's Wing on the... I'm not going to equip it right now, but I think for the final fight, the extra movement should help me. Okay, well, I'm okay with an ambush just because that'll give me some more health. Although, not so crazy about the King of Dust. Although, actually, one thing that I didn't think of in terms of the similarities between the collectible games, and specifically, let's put a name to it. We'll talk about Hearthstone, which is kind of the most obvious example. Oops. That was poorly executed. Jesus Christ. I'd like to say that it's not as responsive as I want it to be, but man, that's a devastating start. Okay, I'm gonna be a pro and see what I can read in chat. Nope. And I run into a rake doing that, so sorry chat, you're gonna have to wait for a sec. There we go. Alright. Probably get some rest. Always a pleasure, System Shock. Hopefully RNG will be mostly on my side. Take care, chat. Thank you for putting up with my It's my Dota 2 talk too! Can't help yourself sometimes. Have a great night, Akadak. Get some well-needed rest. Hopefully we get a chance to see you on the 20th when we're doing the Shadowrun startup. If not, I'll catch you next time you stop by the stream. Rule number 1 of trap mazes. Look at... If it looks like a trap, avoid it. Rules to live by. Rule number 2 of trap mazes. If it doesn't look like a trap, assume it is and avoid it anyway. I'm not gonna go... Well, I might be able to buy something. I'm gonna avoid buying food as long as I can. There's desperate measures. Yeah, all weapons. I mean, they're all pretty cool weapons. But the fire hammer is pretty special. What I will do, though, is I will at least sell... I don't think I can sell any of these other ones. So, health after the third combat. So what I could do, if there's a shop on the last level, I could sell the Ring of Survival and the Merchant's Ring. I can sell the sword right now. And the idea here is just kind of to raise up the amount of gold that I have. You have to go to a wedding this weekend. Oh, that's a shame. The 20th isn't a weekend, by the way, but think of you while you're... Oh, well, naturally. I probably won't name the character after you, but I'll at least think for a minute to call the character after you. I believe it is the Thursday that we'll be starting Shadowrun. But there's no obligation to watch, obviously. It just gave me a convenient chance because I have more people in chat right now to announce that we will be doing at 10 o'clock in the morning on August the 20th. We will be playing the new Shadowrun game. If you lend me the gold I need to save my store, I will repay you one day with interest. We'll give him the 40 gold. And after 10 steps, the player draws 3 gold cards, which may or may not actually be... Oh my god! That's a blessing, so I literally just lost 40 gold. I need to remember to take that out of the deck. That really sucks. Local peasant. Ugh, I'll give her 1 food. I kind of need all of it.
There are only scraps left.
Okay, well, at least I know to avoid that, so that's probably worth the price of admission. And I did not get any food. I will approach the shop. Yeah, I'm basically looking for ambushes at this point to raise my health. I'm not going to buy any food this time around. I'll buy it on my way back. This is the combat I'm a little bit more used to. Easy 4 health. It's a Thursday. Just might pop in. Yeah, I mean, I suspect you'll probably be at work, but if they let you have it on in the background, then we're happy to have you. Cave mouth. Oh yeah, I should have known it was the end of the level. Okay, we'll turn back. As much as I hate to do that.
Starvation begins to set in.
So it's 10 health each time I move.
Fear will only hasten your demise.
It's 10 health every time I move forward without food, so I really need to...
Chance to buy more food. You must be
Buy it up.
relieved.
Have a good night, Ak. Oh, I don't have enough gold because we got...
Food is crucial for healing. If you travel without food,
I'm just going to empty out my coffers.
encounters. you'll also begin to starve. It seems you'll learn that soon enough, though.
Secret Society. Alright, I think I always wind up taking a heavy damage. Down a dark alleyway in the slums of an ancient city, you find a door covered in strange markings. Knock on the door. You knock on the door, a small creature opens it and looks at you. The house demon sniffs and says approvingly, "We have the stench of the truly accursed about you. You may enter." Inside you discover a labyrinth of dark, smoke-filled rooms occupied by devils, demons, vampires, and all manner of ungodly creatures. You end up seated at a table with a scaled figure, risking your soul in a game of chance. I don't even get an option. Huge failure!
Cards turn against the sword.
You roll the bones and hope for the best, but Lady Luck has abandoned you completely. Your opponent gestures as minions, and you are lost to humanity. Oh, that's just the end of the game.
Another of my servants fulfills his duties.
Wow. So, I can't. So there's a card in this deck, which is 25% chance you lose the game outright. Oh, T-Clock, you definitely do. That is a fantastic game. The ending is very satisfying. For culling the Ratmen. Ratmen hunting is unlocked and you receive a Rat Cleaver. GG.
Again you face me. Again you are a fool.
All right.
Until now I have shown compassion. You would be best to test me no further.
So we'll change up the encounter deck a little bit. Gotta get rid of Loan. I'm just trying to think if there's any other ones that wind up giving these indirect blessings. I think I'm still gonna keep Secret Society in, as much like, even though it's a possible game loser. I'll just double check, so I can't remember what the altar does. Merchant's Favor. I don't think that's a blessing. Okay, so I gotta get two. Devil's Wager. Because obviously the last wager I was in worked so well. So Soldiers on Leave basically requires me to have 2 helms. The likelihood of that actually occurring on this run is fairly remote, so I'm not crazy about doing that one. Charity is wasted because I can't get any blessings, so let's do Lizard Dome and the Devil's Wager. I still like this Lion Prince strategy, so we'll do that. You have dozens of games you need to finish? I probably have hundreds. Not that it's competition, but I definitely know that feeling. Alright, so time distortion in combat, everybody receives 20%. Everybody is 20% faster and receives an extra 50% from all sources. Well, I mean, that's not so bad as long as I can get my dodging down.
Once, many came to play the game. Now, it so few.
Holy Ring after
The
killing...
bored, the obsessed, the weak. Some come here merely to fill their mind with anything else but their problems, with any other issue than the thing on their mind today.
After,
Is that what you're doing now?
after killing an undead, the player receives +5 health, so that's probably good at the final fight, but again, it's very
I
specific.
made that a little too powerful.
And
I will have to rebalance that next time.
I would have gotten the Headsman's Blessing, which any kill made using an axe grants the player 3 health, but I am excommunicated. So I'm going to start going left. The reason for that was just, it's obvious if the end of the left-hand side is a shop, then there's probably not going to be the exit. The exit is most likely going to be down here. So I'm just trying to reduce the amount of food that I'm using. But in this case, we get to do the maze of traps again. Let's see if I can improve my trap foo a little bit. I think I gotta get the timing down on those. Oh wow, that's actually pretty fiendish. Alright, so 1, 2. Ah, damn it. That definitely could have been worse. Still took a lot of damage, but definitely could have been worse. Alright, Twisted Canyon. I am not crazy about this one. I thought I removed... Oh no, I didn't remove it. I probably should have, though. See a weapon glinting in the sunlight lying next to a skeleton at the bottom of the canyon. Climb down to retrieve the weapon. I think it's 2. Nope. It's anything but 2. 4 paid guards. Jesus Christ. Almost immediately your hands slip on the rocky cliff face and you fall to the bottom, sustaining serious injuries. Lose 15 health. 10 health per curse. I think this is it. Yep. GG.
I'm afraid that is where this round ends. Some other time.
Just taking account of the games on Steam that you started and haven't finished, not counting the games you haven't started or game that aren't on. Yeah, I mean,
Have you learned nothing?
as wonderful as Humble Bundles are, they definitely add to quite a bit of a bloat in the Steam library. So even though it says that I have a large number of games, the fact of the matter is that a lot of it is
No joy for you here.
fluff that, like, I'm just never going to wind up playing. A good example would be Runespell Overture. I think it's like the only negative review I've ever really written on Steam. Weak ankles, players' run speed is reduced by 25%. That's awful.
Ingenious, don't you think?
Man, what?
This is where it ends.
Heron's Antlers?
This is where the conclusion begins.
Nope.
As much as any game can truly end.
Whenever the player uses...
Final challenge awaits you now.
Okay, well, that was a blessing that I can't get anyway. But yeah, so I mean, I thought it was overly simple. I didn't find it very fun. And it's a very moderate negative review that I gave, but basically I just said it's very hard for me to think of somebody who would really want to go out of their way and spend money for this. It gave me a little bit of an insight in terms of the way that the Steam review program works. Like, I think unless you are so the problem is now that there are games with some pretty famous negative opinions about them. So the distinction isn't quite as easy to make as before. But one of the things that you can do if you're so inclined is you can go, take a random draw of games and look for the negative reviews on the Maiden. One day in a shady forest, you encounter an elf maiden. She stops to greet you. I am Marith of the Forest Folk. My people have long helped the mortals of this realm. What boon would you like to ask of me? So food, gold, which I can kind of get through these little stacks, so we'll ask for longer life. As you wish, Marith mutters and waves her hand. A light shines from your skin. The dealer draws you 1 max health gain card. And we get 5. Many enchanted weapons have powerful abilities that can turn the tide of battle, but only if the wielder remembers to use them. Farewell, mortal. So what you can do is
Everybody has their price.
take a game that people have very neutral opinions about. Like not... So if you think of something like Starbound, where I am almost convinced that they will never release that game, or DayZ, it's kind of cool to hate those games now. But what you do is you look at the negative reviews in like a game where you have no strong prior. And what you will generally find, at least in my experience, and again, I mean, it's not like I did a scientific survey of this stuff, but when I look at the reviews for games and I look at the negative reviews only, because, you know, it's one of the things that I do. I want to see what the worst somebody can say about a game is. And inevitably what will happen is when you see these negative reviews, even if they're thoughtful ones, you're generally going to see a very low proportion of people who say that they found it helpful.
For eons I have waited for an appropriate player. It seems there are more eons ahead.
Because, I mean, in general, I don't think... Like, my experience has never been to read a negative review and then to comment on it. But if I'm really invested in a game, chances are I'm going to want to participate in the community stuff for it. And that means looking at the reviews. And, of course, if somebody's going to badmouth a game that I like, obviously I'm going to want to, you know, to grab the torches and the pitchforks and change my, you know, and review the review negatively. I mean, that's kind of the problem that I have with the Steam review system. And I think it's arguably gotten worse. I think I never found the Steam reviews that informative, to be completely honest. But I've actually found them even less informative now that there's a refund policy. Because in the end here, now, I mean, it's wonderful that there's reviews, that there's refunds, right? Like, in the end, if you don't like a game, you're no longer on the hook to play, you know, to pay for it. And I think that's good. I know there are some developers that have problems with it, and I haven't actually specifically heard what the problem they have is. But I think that's a voice that needs to be heard, because in the end, like, we are supporting like, I know, well, it used to be that, you know, Valve could do no wrong. I think now there's a niche that kind of safely hates people. Sorry guys, I should probably be focusing on the game again. How's it going? I smell like poo and Kite260. Both people. I should actually let you know that both... So I'll finish the Steam thought in a second, but I'll give some shout-outs here. Kite260, a lot of you folks already know, member of Team Panda. Does a lot of co-casts with Superior Blaze, and is just a really great guy overall. Very big supporter of Seriously Clara's, which is where I met him. And just a really fantastic guy. I'm actually really happy that I got to know him, because he's got I think he's got a kind streak that makes up for just what a nasty person I am in life. So the fact that one kite, like the existence of one kite, does a good job of negating the existence of one System Shock. It's probably the best way that I can put it. So hope you've been doing well. Feel free to let us know what you have been streaming, and if you'd like, you can... I know I think I always keep talking about your character, which I think is a really wonderful thing about you. But I don't think I do a very good job of selling your stream. So if you'd like to tell people what you stream and what you're about, feel free to do so.
Time if you like. I've waited long enough.
Quiet, dealer. I'm talking about my friends. But feel free to sell yourself, because I don't necessarily think I do a very good job of selling you here. And I think you definitely deserve a more fair shot than I give you. But in addition to the fact... So in one sense, you can say, you know, for Kite that I need to shout him out because he's on my team. I don't do that for everybody on the team, by the way. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I'm actually kind of careful in terms of who I recommend. But I also want to take a minute to recognize I Smell Like Poo, who has been a very, you know, long-time viewer of the channel, as a lot of you who are in here have been, actually. This is a big one for me, because we're starting to run up on these really interesting milestones. You know, we're at 318 followers, which I wasn't quite expecting I don't think ever to be there, if I'm completely honest. I'm going to pay for the random armor just because, or I should have checked what my armor was actually. Oh, food, not gold. That sucks. It's light, but it slows people down, so I'll accept that. Fortunately, we can get more stuff here. Oh, the Secret Society. Okay, well, maybe this run will be over.
As you plunder the secrets of your memories, you'll gain new.
Oh my goodness.
Some you'll wish you'd left untouched.
So many people. Okay, so now I need to run through everybody here. So I smell like poo. A long-time viewer, as have been a lot of you, and certainly if you guys have some streams, feel free to speak up. But I do want to let you know, especially in his case, he also streams occasionally. I haven't had a chance to see him in a while, but he does not stream under that name. He streams under Esprite Bay. And if you want I Smell Like Poo, you can feel free to drop a link in the channel. But in this case, he's also somebody that, you know, I haven't gotten to watch a lot. I've liked it when I've stopped by. Which I guess is an indication. Hopefully he streams a little bit more. But he's somebody who, if you like, I mean, you've gotten a chance to get to know him in chat. I know I definitely like when he's speaking in chat. He's always been a lot of fun to hang out with. And so if you'd like to get to know him a little bit better as a streamer, you can have a chance to do that. But just keep in mind that it is going to be a different channel from what he does himself. Now, we are getting a ridiculous number of hosts right now on a night where I was feeling a little bit sick and trying to do a shorter stream, but we'll power through this because we might actually be losing this run at the Secret Society today. So before I wager my soul in a game of chance, let's deal with the raids. So, Azernith, thank you very much for following Miss Ariella. Miss Ariella, thank you very much for sending your love. Torjin, I don't know if I should be thanking you for sending your love yourself because you are hosting us, or if you came along with Miss Ariella. In either case, thank you both of you for those hosts. Dark Duchess, of course, we remember from the last time that we were in here. I got to see you in Ari's chat as well. Great to see you again. Kite260, of course. Well, we were already singing your praises here. And T. Clark, in your experience, like 98% of user reviews on Steam are pretty useless because of just people saying stupid things like thumbs up, game crashed on launch, got working, crashed, got... Yeah, exactly. But let me just take a minute here. I'll tell you all of the people who are in here right now. So in terms of the Team Panda representation, we talked about Kite260. A couple of people in here who you guys may be a little less familiar with. We've got Miss Ariella, who is from Australia originally and will be returning, unfortunately, although I've had the pleasure of meeting her twice at the Twitch EXP meetups. Relatively recent addition to Team Panda. I believe she was playing Tales of the Borderlands. At least she was when I was hanging out in her channel, which is, you guys probably already know my opinions about Telltale Games right now. I enjoy watching them now. I'm not going to buy another one. But she does a good job. I think Tales of the Borderlands is a lot of fun to watch. Miss Ariella is a lot of fun to watch. And so the two of those things combined are great, although I know there were a couple of technical problems tonight, which I certainly wouldn't wish on her. But a really wonderful person. I think probably her claim to fame are her Sims streams. But at least if you guys are anything like me, you watch the streams for the personalities, not for the... necessarily for the games that are being played. And so in this case, Miss Ariella is somebody who insists that she doesn't have an accent, and I will leave the good public to decide whether or not that is the case. But somebody who's very deserving of your attention. And Torjin, who I actually believe, if I am not mistaken, was part of the crew who was reviewing my application to go on Team Panda. I certainly think that was the last time I saw him in this channel, and I've had a chance to visit his channel as well. Now, he is a member of Team Panda as well, somebody who I don't think I've had a chance to shout out as much because of my, just in terms of the mismatch, in terms of being able to speak together, but I believe still does a majority of Counter-Strike, if my recollection serves me. I know that was the last thing that you were playing when I kind of lurked in your channel last time, and I believe that's what he is. Torjin, you also may see, I tend to host Tony Loran a lot when she does Quiplash streams, and we tend to see Torjin in those streams as well. So you kind of have those two experiences. Definitely fun to have in Quiplash, but certainly has a stream of his own, and if you like Counter-Strike, if you like that sort of stuff, I know we were talking about Dota 2, so if you tend to like maybe some of the more esports style titles, Torjin might be somebody who is worthy of your attention. So what else do we have? Don't forget to mention that she has access. Yeah, sorry, Cramble, catching up there. And then finally, Dark Duchess, who doesn't necessarily have the Team Panda connection, but somebody who I got to know was extremely gracious. So I should note that apparently at some point she had followed me on Twitter, and some of you guys might be in this state as well. So I'm really bad at checking who has followed me on Twitter. And that's not because I have too many followers. I certainly don't. But I'm just not very good at keeping track, and I also tend not to automatically follow whoever follows me because there's obviously a lot of advertising stuff that goes through. So Dark Duchess had apparently started following me at some point, and I did not return because I'm just bad at social media. But apparently I was in some small way, I don't necessarily think I solved her problem, but I believe the dialogue that we had reminded her of what she had done, or rather didn't do, the previous time. She is a fellow Mac streamer, actually somebody who last time I was watching was doing The Sims 4. So as somebody who seems, forgive me if I'm mistaken on this, Dark Duchess, but seems to be somebody who's just starting out on streaming. And so on this point, I would like to say, this stream exists because of your guys' support. But if we want to go one layer back, it's important to remember what the experience was like when I was just building up and starting off on my own stream. And so for that, part of it is speaking to an empty room, but also to have people coming in and giving some support. And so that's a really important part in the formations of streams and that time when you're getting established, kind of trying to find your voice, trying to find your footing. I mean, I'm now at 300 followers and I still haven't found that. But I think a lot of you guys, at least in my experience, have been a very supportive group and people who I have deeply valued, and I've gotten a lot out of in terms of the feedback that you give me and in terms of some of the interaction that I have. So if you guys are inclined, obviously I'm never going to be able to dictate what people decide to watch in the spare time. But I think because you guys have been such a good audience for newer streamers, and if I am correct in my assessment of Dark Duchess, I would actually recommend that you guys stop by her channel, give her a follow, and see what it's about. And I think, rather than relying on the whims of people just randomly searching through Sim streams, you guys can maybe stop by. I'm going to be hanging out for sure because I had a great time when I was in there before. But you guys can hang out, give some support for somebody who's in a spot where, at least I remember, not too long ago. And, oh my goodness, Weebro is hosting us again. I don't think I'm ever going to get back to this game. I'm going to knock on the door so we can make some progress. All right. So, comp pooped out as soon as we raided. So, Weebro, I'm going to give you your shout out in a second. Guys, you're being so kind with your raids. I'm sorry I've kind of put the stream to a complete halt, but we need to take some time to give credit where credit is due, because I certainly wouldn't be streaming without these very supportive people. So, Weebro, much love. GG, Weebro, froze. All you could hear was the soothing SC voice. Well, okay, I'm glad that the sickness hasn't gotten in the way of the voice then. I completely solved the audio. And just starting out, so thank you for the shout out. That's fine. By the way, guys, everybody who I've shouted out, and anybody who has a stream and who I've missed, I'm always looking for new forms of entertainment. I think you guys are looking for more forms of entertainment, and people who have streams, especially if I haven't shouted you out, do feel free to drop your links, tell us what you're about, tell us what your stream is about, why you're worth watching, because I have benefited tremendously from some...
Now, hurry up. We don't have forever.
How rude. I've benefited tremendously from some people who are at a tier where they probably don't need to be recognizing me, giving me some credit and giving me some love as far as the follows and the hosts are concerned. So certainly the very least that I can do, and literally the least that I can do, is recognizing the streamers who are present. I hope that I have done so far. But if you guys, if I have missed anybody, don't feel bad to speak up. It is entirely because either I'm unaware of your streaming, or I thought I've shouted you out and I haven't, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting the credit that you deserve. So, speaking of... Oh, that's awesome, T. Clark. Thank you for following us, Smell Like Poo. Or rather, Eastbright Bay. And finally, we have got a pretty solid system. You've seen streamers blow up when somebody even mentions another stream during the count. Well, no, I think it's fair. I I didn't recognize you. Mr. Pornstar, I recognized you at the very beginning of the cast. Thank you very much for the host. So guys, I'll just take a mention here. So we're being hosted by 5 different channels right now. We've got Mr. Pornstar, also known as Mr. XXXV, Dark Duchess 90, Miss Ariella, Torigin, and Weebro. How's it going, Mr. Pornstar? Weebro is the one who I haven't mentioned. Now, Weebro kind of gets a little bit of a special place in my Team Panda history. He is another member of Team Panda, so I don't think anybody in here is unfamiliar with Team Panda, and I can definitely assure you that not all the people on Team Panda spend so much time talking as much as I have. I've been watching this viewer count slowly tick down from all of these hosts because I don't shut up. But one of the things that I'll say about Weebro was I was invited to be a mod for Seriously Clara. One of the things that is involved in modding is being the kind of the adjudicator of the apps on Team Panda. It's a good role to have if you're a streamer because it gets you thinking about how you stream, what goes into a good stream and things like that. And obviously I have a very analytic bent. But what was special about Weebro, because I when I applied for Team Panda, I also looked at some of the other applications and the ones that I thought were weak and the ones that I thought were strong. But what I remember specifically was Weebro was actually the first application that I sort of like looked at, and it was instantaneous, where I was like, oh my God, we need to have this guy on Team Panda. So in terms of his stream, just his layout, his personality, his camera presence, he is somebody who has kind of had a background in AV. He's also somebody who works in the games industry. But I remember it was just a stream that it was, a very, very high quality stream. I was just writing all the nice things about it in this review. And it was like the one that I really felt that I needed to advocate for in terms of the Team Panda apps. Now, that's not to say that I haven't liked other ones. Like, obviously, Ariella has been added since I've been a mod. We've had plenty of people who have been added, and they're people who I'm very happy to have on the team. But there's something about that first time where I get to see Weebro and kind of in this list of, like, really mediocre applications where I'm writing, like, here are some good things, but, as a whole, it's a negative. The most common one that we get are just people aren't that integrated with Clara's family, which is kind of the point of Team Panda. But if you want to see what a stream that I gave a rave review to Team Panda is for, check out Weebro's stream. I know he's been having some computer problems recently, but when he streams, he does it exceptionally well, and he's kind of one of those people who it's kind of like, if I would permit myself envy, it would probably be Weebro, Jesse Quill, and Clara. But for now, I just like the fact that I have other opportunities for stream or for viewing. All right. You must have been hosting me from before? Oh, well, Mr. Pornstar, I'm happy to have you hosting me at whatever point in the time. So if you were hosting me, if I was the leftover host or if this is a brand new host, I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you very much for doing that. And I always like it when you're participating in chat, too. Props to System for mentioning my stream. Well, yeah. So this thing I was going to say, I'm going to say knocking on the. I'll go through some of the story stuff, and I'll talk a little bit about the shout outs and the links in terms of Twitch. The house demon sniffs and then says, "Begone, mortal! You have the taint of evil about you, but only the hellish lords and their truly accursed minions may enter this establishment." All right. So for some reason, I wasn't allowed in. Leftover host, yeah. Okay. So the reason I actually went here is I thought this wasn't going to be the exit. I was wrong. So now I need to go back. I'm actually going to lose quite a bit of health doing this. Oh, I thought this was a store. Okay, GG, I'm dead.
Ouch.
Oh well.
If only you had a meal.
You're left over to a porn star then, Captain.
I had such challenges prepared for you.
That sucked.
Such is life.
All right. Well, I mean, I was really careless that run, so. So yeah, I was going to talk a little bit about the linking channels and things like that. So, in one sense, you can say, oh, well, it's just reciprocation, right? These people are hosting me, so I feel the obligation to shout them out. Now, I mean, with that in mind, if I were to go and I were to host, like, Lethal Frag or Alaskan Savage or Claire or somebody like that, they're partnered streamers, they're very good streamers. There's no obligation that they have to acknowledge my host. It's a nice thing to do. I may or may not be inclined to, to do the host again.
Again, you are a fool.
But it's not exactly like they need my views. But it is very nice of them. The big thing, though, is that, if you only host for mercenary reasons, it's generally pretty apparent, right? So, in that sense, whether or not somebody...
Until now, I have shown compassion. You would be best to test me no further.
If, somebody hosts you, I don't necessarily feel that there's an obligation to shout them out. But, I mean, in my case, obviously... every view matters because I'm voice only, and I get a lot out of your guy interacting with you guys, right?
I hope that is the curse that ends your quest.
But there's another more important thing behind it, which is that generally, if somebody goes into a channel and just links their channel, all that really means is they're saying is like, okay, well, I'm going to go into this, entertainment venue, and I'm going to say, hey, stop watching this jackass, go somewhere else. Basically, that's what's being said. I think people don't like being used as sort of tools for advertisement. So I think that can generally be when people sort of flip out about self-promotion. But on the other hand, in my case, these are people who I enjoy watching. Certainly, I mean, there's a certain reputation online. I need to accept that not everybody's going to like everything that I watch myself. But I think the best that I can do, because I enjoy watching Twitch as a viewer as much as I do as a streamer, the best that I can do is give at least some leading indicator of quality, right? In the end, you get to decide how long you spend in that channel and whether or not it's worthwhile. But the very least that I could...
Called the game of eternity that we play. I didn't think that meant you'd take forever to make a decision, mind.
At the very least, I can, just say it's like, hey, out of the sea of things that you can watch, Dark Duchess, Miss Ariella, Torjin, Weebro. I don't think Mr. Pornstar, you don't actually have a channel, do you? I always thought you were just a viewer. Because if you're not, like if you're actually a streamer, I still need to visit your channel. But if I can give these leading indicators, being a member of a team is a really good opportunity for that. Clearly, Team Panda is something that has some cohesion as far as personalities are concerned. But these are some things that I can say. It's like, rather than just leave it to random chance, here are some streams that, may be smaller, some of them may be larger. The smaller streams, you get a little bit more of a one-on-one interaction. And the larger streams, this is just something that a lot of people agree on is very good. And so, it's something that has a bit more of a mainstream appeal. But more importantly, too, is that... in a large part, I think the people who I've recommended are people who have given me support. Certainly you guys have been very good at giving me some support in being present in chat and hosting me and things like that. But also to acknowledge the help that other people have given me. One of the first events, and I think some of the people who are in this chat will actually remember this, the very first stream that I ever did was an Extra Life stream. And it wasn't to start a streaming career. It was just a one-off thing that I did for a charity event. And it was kind of the 24-hour stream was so I could have a record of this thing that I did and kind of give a payback, because my intention was to try and raise all of the money before the stream happened. As it is, we actually made enough money during that stream. But the idea here was I wasn't expecting a very large turnout, so I tried to gear as much of the goal as I could. And the very first thing that happened during that was an old friend from high school went on Reddit. I had no idea that he did this until some people mentioned it in chat. But he went on Reddit and said, I haven't talked to this guy in years. He's always loved video games in his life, and he is doing this charity stream right now, and nobody's watching. Can you please go and give him a hand? And from that, I have viewers to this day who still come to the channel. And I mean, it's definitely quite different from what it was during that 24-hour stream. But from that one act of, hey guys, this guy's doing something, give him a shot. We've been able to build this channel to its, 300 follows is a very modest number, but we are now in double digits of people watching, and it's as consistent of a stream as I can get. And it's something that I hope I'm getting better at. So from those very small origins and just a very simple act of kindness that somebody who doesn't even watch Twitch that much did, have allowed me to kind of get that energy, to have somebody to respond to in chat, or safely ignore in chat, as I'm doing right now because I'm monologuing. But from those very small starts, I'm able to kind of push forward and become better as a streamer, and hopefully be a little bit more entertaining for people. Because in the end, that is what this is about. This is not some very bizarre form of masturbation where I'm just doing this for myself. And if some random bot comes into my chat and starts saying things to me, I respond to that. Like my objective would be to be as entertaining as I can be. But that doesn't happen in a vacuum. That happens from support. So for those reasons, that's why I think it's valuable, both for my entertainment, but also this all really comes down to my entertainment. If people who are starting out don't have those opportunities to build an audience, and I think in this case, this is a group who's very accommodating of newer streamers, and works well with them. I mean, there's definitely people who work better in large chats, and there are definitely people who work better in small chats. And I would not trade this audience for the world. So in one sense, my entertainment options get better if new streamers get the support that they need, because they're going to grow and I'm going to be able to watch them and enjoy more. But also it's an acknowledgement of where I came from, because in the end, I think, if I didn't have that Reddit post, if I didn't have Clara shout me out, if I didn't have Shan to host me, if I didn't have you guys hosting me, then I wouldn't have the opportunities that I had. So there you go, guys. That's the whole spiel. Let me catch up on chat and I'll get on with the game. Stop watching this, Jack. Okay, so Chalk, I'm good with PC stuff. So Mr. Pornstar, I have a PC. I don't know how good I am at PC, but if you have a question, feel free to ask it. We wrote Windows 10 crashed you again. I guess you win this one, Mac users. Yes, we do. Live a few hours away from you. You can borrow the iMac. Nice. It's really slow right now because you're trying to get a PC and other stuff before you can actually do it, but you played around with a few times. Okay, that's cool, Mr. Pornstar. I need to remember to stop by if you're streaming. Weaver already has a paperweight. Windows 10 is heavy enough for a paperweight. Awesome. Feels if Chalk could be a public speaker. Well, Mr. Pornstar, I do need to present at seminars every once in a while, but thank you guys. A fine specimen of man. Yeah, until you get to meet me, I'm a wonderful person. As soon as you meet me in person, I'm remarkably disappointing. But thank you, Miss Ariella. Miss Ariella, by the way, is a lot of fun to hang out with. Even I've gotten to meet her in happy times and in times when life is becoming quite stressful. And there is tremendous character that is shown when you meet people who are capable of being very fun to be around when life is treating them well and life is not treating them well.
This thing I have created, I can hardly bear the sight. I've worked my way through its many convolutions so many times, run through these conversations in my mind over and over again, wondered how it all ends. Will I ever know the truth?
Oh, that's very kind of you to say, Dark Duchess. It's as funny as it is to mention, or as to say, I was very uncomfortable hearing the sound of my voice for a while. Because I want to get better at streaming, I obviously review my VODs. So I've now become more accustomed to it. But it's still, because I've heard it, like I've become numbed to the effect now because a lot of people say I have a nice voice. And so, it requires a very weird form of delusion to say, all of these people are saying this one thing, but it can't be true. Like that's bizarre. So I acknowledge the compliment. It would be disrespectful for me not to acknowledge the compliment. But it was definitely, there's a very long time where I needed to get used to the sound of my voice. And even now, I'm doing a gift for somebody.
For eons, I have waited for an appropriate player. It seems there are more eons ahead.
I'm recording an audiobook for somebody because they're quite like they're a very well established figure in business, and so they don't have a lot of free time, but we always have loved chatting about current affairs and topics of mutual interest. So I thought one of the better gifts I could give her would be an an audiobook, and I thought, well, why not personalize it and make it a recording? But I still sometimes find it a little difficult to hear my narration. But for those of you looking for narration, we have Shadowrun, August 20th, 10 a.m. Mr. Pornstar, if I asked you to build you a decent PC on a budget, could you do it? Probably. But I would also say that if you go to a website called logicalincrements.com, they're probably going to do a better job of building that PC for you than me. I smell like poo. How do you know the YouTube guy CGP Grey? His videos remind you of a lot. No, I don't actually. But I'll take a look for him. I smell like poo because I'm always looking for more opportunities, and especially when people say, you know, they remind me of them. I kind of feel bad for the person, but I'm always curious when people say that. So I'll definitely check it out. I think you also recommended The Game Theorist to me, didn't you? And I just made you cry. Oh, because of my, must have been because of my Hand of Fate playing, right? Am I coming to TwitchCon? I am not, unfortunately. As System Shock, I know that problem. I heard yourself and you couldn't figure out who the annoying chick was until you realized it was you. Oh, that's horrifying. But Dark Duchess, you're like, your vocal qualities are quite nice. Like I have seen you only as an audio only caster. I haven't actually seen you with a webcam yet, so I never noticed it. But again, it's definitely a very individual feature. So, hey Totemos, how's it going? Shy-ho! Oh my goodness, look at all these people here. All right, sorry guys. Let me jump into the game. Def want to give me sub buttons? Oh, Shio, that's very kind. I think we are a long way off from sub buttons, but I will just say too. So it's worth reiterating, especially because I missed a cast on Friday because of the illness. By the way, I don't think it's apparent in my voice. Nobody's commented on sounding sick, so that's a small grace. I'm not feeling that great, but you guys definitely are making me feel better than I was at the beginning, and I think that's just a feature of the audience. But I will let you know, so I'm obviously in grad school. That's going to be starting up in September. You know, this is a hobby for me. There are streamers such as Jesse Quill and figures like that who, oh, actually, Dark, is that, I can't remember, to be honest. I don't think I've seen... I know you have a webcam now, so maybe I did. If I was, I must have been in there very briefly, but...
Scared of returning,
I don't know. Either or. I need to hang out a little bit more often is the lesson that I take out of that. But yeah, I will let you know that even though I've stumbled a little bit as far as scheduling is concerned, my plans for the stream are long-term, and I do intend to spend some money on this. So when I'm out of school... I am going to be building a proper gaming streaming PC. It's a long-term commitment that I have, but I will let you know the plans that I have for streaming are over several years, not over several months. So as long as you guys keep showing up, there's going to be something here for you to watch. If you guys don't show up, I'm still probably going to be casting, but it's probably not going to affect you either. I smell like poo. Oh, okay. I've been having a lot of chats with my friend about First Past the Post. He is deeply into proportional representation, perhaps surprisingly to people. I am not actually as keen on it. It doesn't mean I'm opposed to it, but I'm a little bit more muted on electoral reform than other people think. But I'll talk about the politics stuff a little bit later because I've really been skirting the edges of everybody's patience by not playing this game. But it'd be neat. I definitely want to read that kind of stuff. Card games and all we now need are some motorcycles. Yeah, Totemos, I'm sorry, I don't recognize that reference. Yeah, I know I've been in your channel, Dark Duchess. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember seeing you on your cast. I could just be that, you know, I was in there for a second and I didn't see anything, but By the way, it just occurred to me that you whispered to me, so apologies if I said that like out loud and it was supposed to be secret. But there didn't seem to be anything secretive about it. So, Essie, did you take your advice on Twitter and eat a bag of Ricola? I did not, but I appreciate the advice nonetheless. Oh God, come on, guys. I just want to know what this curse does. Okay, corrupt healers. Whenever a player is healed, they also lose 1 gold for every 2 health points. I'm perfectly fine with that. Totemo's Gotchi made you gig. Okay, could somebody please explain the joke to me? You didn't see that coming from me. Oh, in terms of PR? Yeah, it's I need to think about it a little bit more often. But the big thing is that there's a couple of principles that people will argue for proportional representation on. So to give you an idea too, I did actually vote for the PR referendum in BC. And it's specifically because BC's structure is such that we have 2 parties. It's always a majority, and each party behaves like it can ignore the other one. So in that case, I actually think proportional representation would be a better form of system, mostly to break up this idea of parties ignoring each other for 4 years and just passing through these really unpalatable agendas. Because in the end, I think it's important that governments have sort of these mechanisms through which they can't, through which they moderate their policies. And it doesn't feel like that's working in BC right now. But I don't think the arguments that made me support proportional representation in BC apply to the federal system. And it's actually becoming a really big problem for the election for me this year, because there's one party I definitely will not vote for. If they have different leadership in the future, I may vote for them at some point in my life. But the current leadership of this party makes it, in my view, it would be irresponsible to vote for them. But the other problem is that the other 2 options, the other 2 viable options, in my opinion, have sort of hinged. They've committed themselves to these proportional representation things. So it's not just that I am supporting. It's not just that I'm voting against this party I want to see defeated, but I'm now having to actively support electoral reform, which I don't actually think is right. So it could actually wind up being the first election that I don't vote in. Sorry, guys. Yeah, the majority of the audience here is not actually Canadian, and I'm talking about like arcane points of Canadian politics, but there you go. If you're going to stream as long as you show up, you'll be streaming forever, right? Well, Kite260, I'm sure at some point I'm going to be slumped over dead, but I would either prefer it. I've got one of 2 options, which would be either to expire during relations with the missus. Not that there's a missus in my life right now, but one can hope. And option number 2 would be to keel over while streaming. Those are my 2 perfect ways to go out. Kite260, let's make him stream forever and ever and ever. Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. Okay, so Totemus, I'm not familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! But I'm glad somebody else was in here, although you don't remember exactly what episode it was from. And you'd say SC for president, but he doesn't live here. Yeah. I actually I know a lot more about the behind-the-scenes working of American politics than Canadian politics right now, though, because there's a lot more books that are written about American politics. Nulwich is a port with little more than wooden planks sticking out over water. It's a den of iniquity. Visitors and inquiries are obviously not welcome. Barely understand politics either way, or you're really tired. Yeah, it's SC for Supreme Overlord. Kite, you are here for Crusader Kings, right? All right, my lovelies, time for you to head to bed, or at least Miss Ariella, time for you to head to bed. Have a great night. Thank you so much for the host, Miss Ariella. I know I kind of wasted this wonderful momentum that you built over your stream by taking all this time talking about Twitch stuff, and let's see if I can follow the card. I think it's 1. Nope. So yeah, I kind of squandered this wonderful momentum that you brought into the stream by just talking about arcane subjects and things like that. But thank you so much for that, host. It means a ton. I always like watching your stream. I wish I could watch it more, and I hope you have a great sleep and a great day tomorrow. System Shock for Dictator of the Solar System. Maybe I should do Endless Space next. Hey, CPO Williams, how's it going? CPO Williams is an aspiring streamer, by the way. I don't believe you are set up to stream yet, though, right? Steal the ship's log. You attempted thievery is ill-timed and clumsy. You are quickly surrounded by the displeased denizens of the wharf. The dealer draws you 2 monster cards. Again, this one, I wasn't going to get the captain drunk precisely because I want to do as much combat as I can. And in this case, we will gain 8 health off of this combat. By the way, does anybody have any... I was originally going to talk a little bit about the rules for this game, but it seems like a lot of people are familiar right now. Is there anybody in this channel who is unfamiliar with Hand of Fate? Yeah, CP, I remember... You actually gave me a specific timeline, but I couldn't recall if you were attempting to stream through other means or not, because I know... We had that enjoyable game of Crusader Kings together, which I mean, usually if you can run a game, you can stream. So I didn't want to assume, but I've not forgotten the timeline that you gave me. Easy. Alright, so Totemos and Dark Duchess are newcomers to Hand of Fate. This is a really neat game. So, if you guys are familiar with titles like FTL or some of the rogue... I'm not going to call this a roguelike game, but it has some similarities between a game like FTL, which is a wonderful little indie game made through Kickstarter campaign, and then the collectible card games, Hearthstone being the most notable. So you have 3 resources that you can work with. Health is fairly obvious. You have, this is going to be the thing that you determines whether or not you can continue on in the game. You have food. If you don't have food, then you starve, as what happened to me on the last run. And then if you do have food, you will heal as you progress through each of these cards. And then you have gold, which you use to buy and sell things. So these are generally sort of... They do roughly what you think they would. You also pick up items. Now, the idea here is that you can build your deck in terms of the encounters that you're going to run into and the possible items that you can pick up. And you're playing against the dealer who has a champion for each level.
Now, hurry up. We don't have forever.
In this case, I'm at the end of the game where I'm actually going to be encountering and facing off against the dealer himself, assuming that I can get to the end. And basically what happens is you build your deck kind of built around the probabilities of these certain events occurring. So in this case here, you sort of want to navigate the level as best as you can to get the items to equip you for that final fight, but you also potentially die in the encounters, as you've seen through the last couple of times. So it takes, the interesting parts about deck building and trying to build synergies between things, or in my case, I've tried to build a deck that's a little bit more robust to change, because on this particular level, each time I go a layer deeper into the dungeon, I get a new curse, which will damage me. But on the other hand, you can also try and set up these really amazing combinations to win that way. So, just so you know, Dictator of the Solar System is a reference to the Last Federation. Okay, T. Clark, I'll check out that game for sure. I may not buy it. I already bought Road to Gehenna, but is it Gehenna or Gehenna? I need to check that out. I think it's Hebrew. And you have the connection, not the PC right now. You hope for it to be up and running come to... Yeah, I remember you said that was a Christmas present that was coming out. I wanted to kind of muddy the waters enough in case I was giving away a little bit more than what you had wanted, but I'm going to take that now as an implicit commitment to be up and running in December. And a very special thank you to the Mrs. CPO Williams in advance for that contribution, because as I said earlier, I am always looking for new ways to be entertained. And Totemos is the dictator of the cardboard box. So as you guys have already seen through the combat encounters, once you get past sort of the more strategic elements where you're navigating these dungeons and trying to build your level, you also have this third-person action... Alright, well, this is an inauspicious start. You have these... You have these third-person sort of action encounters. The thing that I really like about this game is it's made in the Unity engine, which means that you... it kind of shows you what... Like, keeping in mind that Unity 5 is now completely free, it gives you an idea of the quality of game that you can make with tools that are, are really readily available for anyone. Now, this doesn't mean that this game is cheap by any means. They were made with, I believe it's Government of Australia money. And clearly there's a lot of time and effort that's been put into this game. But I think it's a really great indicator in terms of the tools that you have available and sort of how you're not really restricted. If you have an idea for a game, and really original one in this case of mixing these really interesting genres together, it kind of shows you how well you can realize it now. I mean, just look at this table, right? My stream quality isn't that great because of my bandwidth, but you've got the flickering candle, you've got the wonderful light effects. The music on this is really wonderful. Oh wow, I'm rolling in dough. But this is the stuff that I live for, right? To see interesting and original titles coming up. And not restricted by the fact that you don't have a multi-million-dollar budget or something like that. It's really wonderful that people are having more opportunities to express what's in their head. Surprising your internet connection is smooth sailing for me right now. It's been laggy as crap for the past 4 days. It's always laggy as crap for me, but I think that's just because I have the cheap internet. I seem to think that you're going to be an entertaining streamer. I hope you are, CPO Williams. Hags Ramps, each strike inflicts a curse, slowing and weakening your opponent. I really like that. After opening the chest, the traps lay dormant, and you make your way back to safety. Alright, so I'm kind of tempted to see what a Merchant's Favor does, but I really don't want to do Deadly Traps. So in this case, I'm going to go with the next level. A dank and foreboding cave lies between you and your goal, not gold. Enter the cave.
I appreciate your ingenuity. I look forward to seeing how you approach this particular challenge.
Tainted. The player cannot sell anything. So one of the items that I...
This can only end one way,
Call for the priest. In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Let's approach the shop. And you can obviously play this on Mac. Yes, you definitely can play it on Mac, Dark Duchess. This is, in my opinion... Now, I got this on sale. I will say, personally, for me, I think it's worth the full price, but we are kind of in an environment now where people tend to have a lot of games. So the argument for... I don't think I'm going to buy anything right now, actually. The argument for buying a game right away is a little bit harder, just because usually there's something else to get you by without. But I will, in my opinion, and obviously you get a chance, if you have any question, if anybody has any questions about this, because certainly I like advocating for games that I enjoy, but I also want to give as objective of an opinion as I can. So if anybody has any questions about this and deciding whether or not it's worth buying, I'm certainly happy to do that. But in my opinion, so if somebody had said to me that this game is never going to go on sale, the only option that you have is to pay the full price for it. Or somebody said to me, it's like, okay, you got this on sale, you've played it now. To continue playing, you need to pay the difference between the sale price and what you have right now. Do you want to continue? My answer would be an unqualified yes to this game. I can't say that about everything in my library, but I can say that for Hand of Fate. But with that in mind, obviously, the price is what you pay, value is what you get. The value I'm getting out of this game is whatever the charge is right now. I can't recall how much. I think it's like $30 or $40 or something like that.
It has been called the game of eternity that we played. I didn't think that meant you'd take forever to make a decision, mind.
But with that in mind, certainly I am getting even more enjoyment having gotten this tremendous value out of the game at such a small price. So. You don't have a smooth jazz voice like you, Jock. The voice is a very, very small part. Okay, well, I mean, this is obviously what entertains you guys is your own business, right? But I would like to think that vocal qualities are not like, if you want, I'm going to go and get one of my history books or one of my economics books right now and just read that and like turn off the game. I'm pretty sure that's not quite going to be what everybody wants though. So, I don't feel, I'm not going to say that natural natural endowments are meaningless. I think I'm very lucky to have the voice that I have. But I would like to think that there are other reasons to watch the stream other than my natural qualities. So I think even, somebody unattractive who has a face cam or somebody who's got a grating voice will still find an audience if they are genuine and they communicate personality. If anybody's interested, by the way, so on the blog, I really should put a link to the blog and on the channel description. But I did actually post a blog which talked a little bit about what I think is important when it comes to communicating and interacting with the stream. Now, that is obviously my view of things, but it doesn't mean, in this case, I think that they have very little to do with natural qualities of, appearance or voice. The biggest thing for me is that if I have a natural endowment of, a good voice or my gorgeous green eyes or something like that, my responsibility is to take those natural benefits and turn them into an entertaining cast. So to just leverage those advantages and to amplify them through good content. I think it would be bad of me to just rest on that advantage. All right, Weebro's headed to bed. Have a great night. I'm sorry, I know I said that a little bit later. I'm probably like 3 minutes late on this or something like that. But thank you very much for the support, hanging out, and the host. Hope I get to see you stream as well as to get to see you inside of the channel. With any luck, we'll get to see you during Shadowrun. If not, that's we'll see you at some point. I'll see you in Slack at the very least. But all right, and to anybody you followed tonight, don't blame you. It's his fault he made me do it. Oh, T. Clark, you're too kind, but take credit for supporting up-and-coming streamers. Did I mind control you? Take care. Thanks, SC, for the kind words. Your cast is great. Thank you, Weebro. It actually, I was going to say, I don't mean to be an egomaniac about this, but actually to get the support of saying good stream, guys, thank you very much. It is something that keeps me streaming and makes me feel bad when I miss a stream. So that support is good. Oh God, everybody's asking for the history book now. You know what, guys? I will tell you what, at the end of the cast tonight, this is like going to kill anybody who I do a host yet, but I will read one chapter from it's sort of a history book. I will read you guys something at the end of the cast. That is my covenant with you. When I'm done, Hand of Fate, I'm going to do story time with System Chalk, and then we'll host somebody. Okay? I hypnotized. All right, have a really good night, Kite. And you'll definitely be back for Shadowrun. Awesome. All right, to all of the sleepyheads, have a really good night. I'm going to keep playing this game. But yeah, I will do this. It's actually something I was going to do one night. And it seems if my voice is good enough to be able to cast tonight, at the end of the stream, I'll do something a little bit different. I actually don't know that much about history, but I really enjoyed this book that I read, so... All right, in the gloom of the narrow canyon, you find the old remains of a wooden cart. Apparently having fallen down years ago, you find nothing of worth except a chunk of glinting metallic ore. It may not sell for much in its current state, but perhaps you can find someone who can use it. You take it and make your way back up the path. Heroes' remains. You pass a funeral. It's obvious from the size of the procession that the deceased was a well-loved figure. You are approached by the cleric. This great hero fell defending our beloved town in Windermere. His sword and shield are powerful artifacts, but must be returned to his hometown with proper burial rites to be completed. Will you do this, traveler? I actually think this gives me a blessing, so I should remove this from the deck. But let's take the hero's belongings just to see what it does. Thank you. This will mean the world to the family. The town would have revolted had these artifacts not been returned. It's not far from the hero's hometown. Look for the town cleric when you get there. So I've got the Viking blade. I won't equip it. It is a better and pain. Nope. And hurry, it's not wise to anger the spirits of the dead by delaying their proper rites. So in this case, I have the heavy burden curse.
Another curse on the table. Let us see how you deal with it.
After 5 steps, player loses 50% max health, which I definitely can't afford. And the hero's return is here, which means that the exit is probably, it's one of these two. Oh, God. All right, devilish traps. One night you awake to find yourself enclosed in a maze of traps. Everything seems strangely familiar, like a nightmare from your childhood. A disembodied voice calls out, seemingly from the sky. I've often wondered, does one control one's dream, or does the dream control you? If it is the latter, then then does it mean that when we sleep, when we are at our most unguarded, we are at the mercy of our own mind? The voice laughs and laughs, the sound receding away until only you and the maze of devilish traps remains. T-Clock's a sucker for green eyes? Okay, well, face cam coming never. Hey Lorgosh, how's it going? Totemos has hazelnuts or hazel eyes. Hazelnuts for eyes. I'm not one to judge. Oh god, this is horrifying. So these bushes, you can sort of see the spikes coming out of them. They basically, they're not actually rakes, they're spike traps. But I like to call them rakes. So if you walk into the bushes, you get a rake to the face. And apparently if you walk anywhere in here, you take a massive amount of damage, so... Oh god, you only YOLO once? There we go. Believe me, Dark Duchess, you are missing absolutely nothing by me not showing my face. If anything, I detract from the quality of the stream. Starting to get colder? Oh, that's right, Lorgat, you're in Scandinavia, aren't you? So, got us the history book. I'll get us the cam next time. Considering the dreams you've had recently, your mind hates you. You know, Totem, I can't actually remember the last time I've dreamt. It's a shame. I know everybody says, you know, you dream and you just don't remember them. It's not a distinction it's not a distinction I particularly find useful for the purposes of this discussion. But yeah, honestly, I don't recall the last stream that I've had. You reach Windermere, hometown of the dead adventurer. The town cleric meets you at the gate. He appears to have been standing vigil. Return the hero's sword. Thank you. This blade will once again be wielded in righteous fury. Do you also have his shield? And we will return the hero's shield. Truly, you have done the Almighty's work in returning the shield. Thank you. Blessed are we who protected can fell those who trespass against us. Draw 2 blessing cards. So I need to get this out of the deck as well because this is useless to me. Yeah, it's Finland that you're in. Thank you, Lorgosh. And according to Dark Duchess, it is a fine land. I cannot say. I've only been to Australia myself. Actually, I guess I went to the States when I was really little, but...
Little pleases me more than watching your attempt to wriggle away from bad luck.
Okay, so I've got a new curse, as is the way with the dealer. You get a new curse whenever you go on to another level. So I've got Hungry Blades. Whenever a weapon ability is used, the player consumes 1 food, which is particularly devastating because I've only got 4 right now. But on the flip side, I don't have any special weapon abilities. So
it has finally come to this.
Local peasant.
It has been too long. Yet life will not let the candle be snuffed. I want to know what lies beyond that door. Yet, I will not go easily.
School starting, shoved in a class. You have no idea what you're in for. Why must you be thinking school when you don't have to go back yet? Yeah, Totemus, I've got, well, as I said, I'm starting a master's in economics in September. I'm already doing some of the math review, and I mean, it's just calculus and a little bit of matrix algebra, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I have the most creative applications of the chain rule. Sorry for those who are not math people, but I have the most creative applications of the chain rule out of anybody I know. I still make very dumb basic math mistakes, so it's going to be interesting. So. All right, one day in a shady forest, you encounter an elf maiden. She stops to greet you. I am Marith of the Forest Folk. My people have long helped the mortals of this realm. What boon would you ask of me? So, what I would prefer to do is ask for longer life. Let me just think through this, though. So, if I ask for longer life, then it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until I potentially get to any place that will give me food. And that would mean, well, hang on. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4. I could actually survive that. So I'm going to risk. So the problem here is that I am putting a lot behind me not taking damage over the next couple of turns. If I'm right, then asking for the longer life turns out because my max health is up, and then when I buy that food, I'm just going to be able to restore my health. If I take damage, though, I'm going to starve before I make it to the next place I can buy food. There is also the probability that I get food in one of these other unknown places, but it's pretty unlikely. So let's see if it pays off. Ask for longer life. As you wish, Marith mutters and waves her hand. A light shines from your skin. The dealer draws you 1 max health gain card. 5 max health. So CPO's never left the States, although I'm pretty sure I know what country you'd visit first. Dark Duchess has never been, but has always wanted to go to Finland, seen tons of pictures, and you think it's beautiful. And Lorgosh has visited Estonia 2 times in your life, so that's you're traveling, and you are on a work visit to Estonia. You can't say that Finland is pretty or not. It seems boring to you since nature is nice, but the rest is just boring. Yeah, I think actually that tends to be the curse of any place that you grew up in. So I grew up in a place in British Columbia known as the Okanagan. Now, this is the place where like everybody I know goes for summer holidays. It's got lots of vineyards. It's got nice beaches and stuff like that. Now, I'm a gamer, right? I don't spend that much time on the beach. But like, it's funny. Like, apparently I grew up in the place where everybody wants to go on holiday. And I'm always like, yeah, I'm never going back to Kelowna. Like, I just don't want to, I'm just not interested. So it's funny, right? Like, I grew up in a place where everybody goes on holidays, but I don't have the same sense of value.
For eons, I have waited for an appropriate player. It seems there are more eons ahead.
Tiglog, you've been to Italy. My thesis advisor was from Italy, actually. Cave Rescue. Okay, so this is an opportunity for some more max health. Remembering that the special helmet that I have, or rather or it's not exactly a blessing, but like the special character that I'm playing is one that gives me max health, increased max health for every monster that I defeat. So going against the Jack of Dust and the 3 of Mages, I think just straight up attack them. The maiden quickly hides as the pirates prepare for battle. Doctor, that's you, and you tell people that you've lived in Hawaii. Yeah, I have to suspect that living in Hawaii, it's probably like everybody's like, "Oh man, you're so lucky." You're like, that's boring. I'd love to visit Europe someday. So many beautiful, interesting countries. I was considering applying to the Paris School of Economics. So for those of you who follow this kind of stuff, Thomas Piketty, the guy who wrote that book, Capital in the 21st Century, that's the school that he teaches at. I have a friend who's going there right now, actually. But as it turned out, the opportunity for UBC came up, which would have only been a year. And I had got some fairly attractive financial offers to go to the schools that I did. So I know you don't always want your school decisions to be purely financial, but I'm also not at the point where I can completely ignore how much it costs to go to certain places. I know the combat's a little crazy right now. I'd love to explain it better, but right now I'm just trying not to get hit as much as I can. You may notice that there are the green signs above people. That means that I can do a counterattack, or I can dodge. Any of the red signs means that they're unblockable. I'm trying to take out the mages first. But it's sometimes a little tricky. And you can see me jumping around a whole lot. That's mostly to try and avoid damage. Alright, so it's just me and the Prince of Dust now. But yeah, I know whether I go for obviously if I decide to pursue a PhD, PSE goes back on the table. But I have a feeling that France would probably be one of the first places I'd go in Europe if I visited. CPO's in Texas. T. Clark lived in Cali. That's interesting. I always called it California, but everybody I've met who's ever come from it keeps calling it Cali. So, and Europe has an annoying neighbor, Russia. I actually have a Russian friend. Well, Canadian. I keep calling her my Russian friend, but she is also Canadian. Like, just because somebody has an accent doesn't mean that they are only one type of person. So as you can see here, I've lost half of my health for lack of food. The good news is I have 102 gold. And I also have a new weapon coming to me because I picked up the metal ore, and on a dusty, lonely plain, you come across the shattered remains of an old monastery. Searching the building, you meet an old man dressed in dirty robes. Long ago, we of the Brotherhood forged holy weapons to support the war against the infidels, but the infidels were strong, and one day one of their raiding parties took us by surprise. They destroyed most of our tools and took our supplies, including all of the rare metal ore that we used to craft our weapons. The king's army never returned after that day. I know not what became of them in the years that followed. I have stayed here all these years, but only the ghosts remain to keep me company. All of the others who survived the attack left long ago. Give the monk the sample of your ore, or your sample of ore. The monk's eyes widen in surprise as he exclaims, "By the old gods, where did you find that?" He looks the metal over carefully. "If you're willing to put in the hard work, stranger, together we could fire up the old forge one last time." You spend several days with the old monk. By day you toil together at the forge, by night you swap tales of your adventures and share of his food. Eventually you hold the completed weapon in your hands. Battle Hammer. 40 damage, string together consecutive attacks to do massive damage, press 1 to unleash a powerful explosion. Keeping in mind I have a curse which will cost me food each time I do that, so I'm actually going to save that for the last fight. And definitely better than the sword.
Is that what you're going to do?
Thank you, warrior, for giving this old relic one last chance to prove its worth. Good luck on your journey. And in this case, I'm going to go down to 27 health, but I will be picking up some supplies. No food, but I have 117 gold. Unfortunately, it's a jeweler, so I suspect the food will be rather expensive. In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Jewelers specialize in selling artifacts and rings. Such an exclusive market demands high prices. Greetings, wise traveler. I have much to offer you.
Finally.
Elysian Cali is shorter type than Cali. Yeah, that's, I think, what most people do. And from what you've heard about Russia regarding only stereotypes, it's basically the internet. Alright, I'm going to look, but I really need to spend this money on food. So we've got Golden Ring of Pain. Player inflicts 1 damage per 20 gold in their possession to a maximum of plus 10, which is very tempting. Inferno Potion for Fire Form, Feathered Ice, and the Ring of Poverty. When this ring is sold, all the player's gold is lost, but the player receives plus 1 max health for every 5 gold lost as a result of the sale. This is really tempting, but I believe I can't sell anything anymore. Yeah, so that would be foolish for me to buy that ring. So the only options here would be the Golden Ring of... I think I will actually pick up the Golden Ring of Pain, because I'm not going to be broke forever. I won't pick up either of these artifacts. They're okay, but they're not, like, crazy good. And we'll buy... Let's buy 6 food. That may leave me in trouble. But I still get some bonus damage. And I hopefully get to some encounters which will give me some extra food. And you'll notice here I'm... So the way that I'm thinking about this is I've got my 67 max health. I was willing to starve a bit because I know that once I do get food, I'm going to start healing up again. So the idea here is that I was using my health as a resource to get me to a place where I would be able to load myself up. That's why I was very careful in measuring out how many steps I needed to take. And if you think about it right, I've got an extra weapon. For doing that. I've also gotten an extra, that extra ring that I've got, which will also be increasing the damage. So as a whole, I have a larger long-term gain in terms, and at the expense of that short-term pain. And what you just want to do in those situations is just make sure that you you know, in a game like this, which is card-based, so you're dealing with the probability of events occurring, you just sort of try and weigh those odds and play with the end game in mind rather than the immediate future. If you play a game like this or FTL without the end game in mind, then you might actually make quite a bit of progress through the individual dungeons. But what's going to happen is you're going to get to the final encounter and it's going to be impossible to beat. So that's generally how I like to play games like this. Although I've been really unlucky with the food that I've been not finding. State your opinions clearly. Your balls will be served on a platter. I don't know if your opinion is that the governing party is doing the right thing. I suspect you'll have a very good time in Russia.
The deeper you go.
Ersky09 slyly pokes the Duchess. So it looks like we've got a Dark Duchess fan. Hello, Ersky09. T. Clark usually, or Dark Duchess usually types Kelly. He was born and raised there. Narsky, I'm trying to remember. I think you came in with Dark Duchess once before, didn't you? All right, I said it wrong. Oh yeah, I probably said Ersky. Is it Erksy09? Apologies for pronouncing it incorrectly. Feel free to correct in chat if you'd like. When stuck in combat, the player will drop some gold. All right, so that's this is a fairly good counter to that ring that I just bought. But on the other hand, I also shouldn't be taking damage in combat because that's how I die. Yeah, it's in terms of, so I'll, you know, and I'll obviously only be able to speak to my own case. I think in the case of most streamers that you might encounter who run into that, my own setup is 2 monitors. So generally what I do when taking a look at chat, I kind of have to give it a bit of a...
It's so easy to create a game that merely defeats you. A game in which you stand no chance, also completely unfair. That is not how I work. I refuse to play in such a manner. Our game is fair, and you will be defeated fairly.
Not that he's trying to seem sinister or anything like that. But for my own case, generally what I have to do whenever I'm taking a look at a hello, the biggest thing is when somebody new, or maybe not necessarily new, but...
The king is dead, and his kingdom in ruins. The prince still wanders the world of shadows, and believes that he rules there.
Whenever somebody comes into the chat, you know, I'll say for the first time that day, you do want to acknowledge them as quickly as you can. Sort of the same way that if you're working at a customer service job, you want to acknowledge a customer because it's usually very annoying to wait in a lineup and not necessarily know that somebody's been in there. And I also tend to talk a lot. So generally what I try to do is at least look at the chat. And if I can't engage with the content of what's said right away, I want to at least acknowledge somebody. And so I suspect probably what's happening is not necessarily that you have a very mispronounceable name, but more the fact that people want to make sure that they say hello to you as quickly as possible. They go for the first thing that they read, which in my case, you know, I see the ER and the S, and I will say Ersky rather than Erksy. And so I think it's certainly no disrespect that, certainly in my case, but I suspect probably the other streamers are not intending to give you short shrift. I think probably they're falling over themselves to say hello. But with that in mind, my apologies for getting the name wrong. Westphalia, oh god, everybody's quoting with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Your experience in Cali was basically limited to Reading West, to Eureka. I didn't know there was a place called Eureka on the Cali-Oregon state line. Typing with one hand, sorry for caps. Were you conducting the orchestra with the name? Born in Kentucky, raised in Maryland. Oh, gee, I didn't know I was so popular with my southern friends. Oh, that was it. So, Doctor, I knew you had I think on your info page, you mentioned, I should be reading, as you travel the dark streets of Stygia one night, nobleman upon a mighty steed is barreling down on me, and I don't know which card is the huge failure. Oh, success. So I tried stealing it from him. Yeah, so I think on your profile you mentioned a military background. I didn't know it was Navy, though. Oh, I don't need gold, I need food. Alright, we got another shop where hopefully the food prices will be a little more reasonable. In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. One thing to note here, so this shop is a light color. This is one that I chose to have included in the deck. You'll also notice that there's a dark colored shop up here. I think this means that there's the probability of an ambush, but we'll see. Approach the shop, greeting the white traveler, I have much to offer you. Just don't mention anything about her dating a Marine. Well, obviously, her choice of dating, or who to date, is her own business. But I'm assuming there's a story behind that. Which she can share if she wants. I don't know what kind of armor I'm wearing right now, actually. So the scavenger's cap is really tempting because of the extra 45% food. The catch about it is that I would need to remove my helmet, which gives me a really good heal. So I think what I'm going to do here... this is also tempting. Fortune's Breath. Every third encounter does not consume food.
Armor like this was exotic in my day. I imagine it is positively unheard of in yours.
Yeah, so in this case, it's a lot of money, especially because I need to be buying food. But to get, basically, it's heavy armor with no speed penalty. So in this case, I'm going to buy that. And then we'll buy whatever food we can with the remaining money. Looks like we can get by with 4 units of food. That kind of blows out our that blows out the bonus damage that we'll get from the ring, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna worry too much about it because over the next few dungeons, I'm probably gonna wind up getting some more gold, and in the end, if I can't make it to the last boss because I starved to death, it doesn't really matter how much gold I had. There's some irony about a rich man dying of starvation. So. Yeah, what SC said. Okay. When you hear marine, you think marine biology. I know a marine biologist, and then you think of squids and orcas, maybe too much Splatoon and Ace Attorney. Well, I mean, obviously the term, like, they don't, the Marines doesn't come out of, nowhere. The type of engagement that they are intended for, calling them a Marine is in fact the appropriate title. But yeah, obviously I suspect the first thing that comes to mind will sort of indicate someone's background. If you think of Marine and you think of a soldier first, then chances are you're either a fan of war movies or you have grown up in an environment which tends to bring a military association. I live in Vancouver now. I'm going to a university. I have a friend who works at the aquarium, and I would like to go to I actually haven't been in a very long time. But in my case, I also live in Canada, which has quite a bit of natural resource exploitation. On the East Coast is very devastating to Newfoundland. Now, this is probably about like 20 years ago or something like that, so it's not exactly something that's a lived memory of mine. But the cod fishery is something that has defined the eastern provinces, or the far eastern provinces, the maritime provinces. So that kind of an industry is something that has given character and life to that part of the country. And so for my upbringing, the term marine is obviously going to refer to to marine wildlife. So I suspect it's probably more just of a question in terms of the environment in which we find ourselves. Type that with one hand because you were conducting with a brownie in the other. That's magnificent. Would you like a Twitter picture for proof? Why do I have a feeling when I check Twitter I'm now going to find this extensive photo album of each individual bite and crumb of a brownie, and then I'm going to be very hungry and I'm going to wind up going to a 7-Eleven and eating a medium quality brownie. Totemo's just ate a piece of cake. Oh, guys. Good lord. No. Lorgosh Marine, alien movies and soldier equals war movies. What does it say if you think of both? It probably means that you've lived a full life. All right, Dead King's Hall. So this is going to be another opportunity to get some... So, I mean, I could potentially die in these encounters, but I look at these as opportunities to gain more health. So 2 monster cards, the King of Plague sucks, and 3 lava golems. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to take them by surprise, because I really can't afford to take on the King of Plague. High chance of failure, though. You're spotted as you approach, and the creatures ready themselves for combat. All right. So the King of Plague might be enough to kill me, to be completely honest, but let's see what we can do. At least there's some traps, so if I run around the environment... This might be a little bit of a boring combat to watch, but what I'm going to try and do here is use the environment to my advantage and get as much free damage on things like the King of Plague with these darts as I can. Ah! I'm blocked by the damn stairs. Whoa! So now I've kind of trapped myself. Here we go. Now remembering I can't use any of my special abilities because of the food cost. Jesus. Alright, this is GG. Alright, let's maybe just try and deal with the lava golems. If I can sort of pick somebody off on their own, I'll be happy to go for some hits, but at 6 health I can't afford to get touched by anything. The King of Plague is a particularly nasty piece of work. Jesus Christ! There we go. I'm really tempted to use a special ability, but that's just going to starve me to death. Oh, that was a big blunder. Yeah, there we go. Alright, well, I managed that combat poorly, so I can't really expect any other... Really can't expect another outcome. But it gives me a chance to redesign the...
Yet you haven't used them, and now you're dead. The cold embrace of death, and the first stuttering steps of new life.
Dark Duchess is not the average woman. You hate chocolate. Wait, but you're eating a brownie? Average women can't tolerate you. Well, Urxie, I really don't know what to say to that. Totemus, I thought this was Texas. Okay, yeah, this is part of joke. Actually, I have something of a background in classics as well, so I always think of the ancient Greeks. Alright guys, let's do one more round of this so I can improve the deck. And then I'll do story time because I promised to.
Go. Leave. There is no joy for you here.
This is by far the most difficult encounter that I've had. Although I will say I tend to make it to the final boss. So I'm generally doing... overall I'm doing worse. I also wouldn't mind ditching the Angry Guildmaster because I don't really get a whole lot from it, but... Let's just see if there's anything else really worth... So, Lovers gives me a blessing. This takes too much health. Lone doesn't do anything. So I'm skipping out on these things called like Lone and Helpful Priest and all of this. Because they give you blessings, and because of the curse that I get from going against the dealer, I wind up I basically wind up taking, or I wind up like losing any blessing that I get. So maybe I should just go back to soldiers on leave, because there's at least the possibility that I'll have helmets to give them. No, we'll do ambush because of combat. All right, once again. Oh, Dark Duchess, this won't actually be a Canadian history thing, but it'll be good for you. But yeah, we'll do. This will be the last round of Hand of Fate. I will read a chapter of this history book that I have, and then we will host somebody. So Canadians are really nice. Please don't stop by for Crusader King stream then. You'll see how mean this Canadian is. American, you know, all of the Americans that I've met are very nice people. I think it's
left these simple pieces.
Nope.
And from them I have built a palace of memories, a convoluted maze that few will ever reach the end of. Will you be one of them?
So this is a particularly good piece of armor. So nearby enemies are immediately slowed as the chilling effects of the armor take hold. So this is a nice, basically a little bit of a combat edge that I get. The drawback is it's light defense as opposed to medium defense. But at this point here, I need to be dodging things more than...
Many of these blessings are too good for the likes of you.
Okay, so this is a blessing I would normally get, but watch, it'll just jump outside of the hand. And we start off with a maze of traps. So yeah, I think it's easy for everybody to have an opinion on the Americans, but I'm not one of the... I think the Canadians kind of make it a pastime to thumb their noses at the Americans, but I think there are a lot of both in the individual Americans that I have met, but also in terms of the institutions of the United States. I am not one of the Canadians who likes to make the cheap American joke. I, for one, welcome in our American overlords. But Dark Duchess is apparently not one of the nice Americans. Alright. I got a really bad curse right off the bat, yeah. I always get bad curses, though. I mean, Tainted I just need to live with. There we go. I'm putting on my serious face now. There we go. Ah, and then I run headfirst into the... That was otherwise going so well. So yeah, running headlong into the spikes notwithstanding, that's generally how those maze of traps should work. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I was going to say, one thing I'll say, especially people from Texas, so out of all of the Americans that I can think of, probably Texans seem to be the butt of the most jokes. And yet the Texans that I have met have also been the ones who are completely willing to just let that, you know, roll off them. Like they seem to, there's something about it that just, despite the fact that I think they probably have the most unfair jokes made about them, they're just the most easygoing about it. So probably a function of confidence, or maybe I'm just saying that because I have a lot of American viewers. After opening the chest, the traps lay dormant and you make your way back to safety. So the decision that I need to make right now is whether I go north or south. The drawback here would be that this is potentially the exit, and so I wind up wasting food going back to explore the dungeon. On the other hand, this also has the lowest cost So I think I'll run for this ahead of time. Traveling Mage. I think, so I'm going to test this hypothesis here that I can be ambushed if I enter this one. So in Shady Grove, off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Mages sell only specific items that they've discovered in faraway lands. Their prices can be high, but they also pay well for anything that catches their interest. Well, I can't sell anything. But greetings, wise traveler, I have much to offer you. So I didn't get ambushed there. That doesn't mean that there isn't the probability of ambush, but it's not going to be that I do combat every single time I enter one of those shops. Only 2 things come from Texas. I really like Full Metal Jacket. Pennsylvanians are mostly jerks, and this is coming from a Pennsylvanian. See, this is the worst thing about that particular joke is that generally, I believe referring to a, well, it doesn't have to be a young woman, but referring to a woman as a cow is generally not not exactly the kindest thing you can call them otherwise. So if you say that only 2 things come from Texas to a lady, you are really you really don't leave yourself a lot of options. Although I suspect anybody who says that probably is not speaking with the intention of complimenting somebody. All right, each straight. Yeah, I generally like the Hag's Wraps. I'm not quite sure why, but I think it works well with the cold armor as well, slowing and weakening your opponent. So generally what that basically does is it buys me some tempo during combat, and especially for this encounter where the final combat is a really long drawn out affair, I kind of need as much of a marginal advantage as I can get. So turns out we found the exit. We've got the food wagon, secret society, and a treasure chest. So I am going to go north. It's going to involve quite a bit of food cost.
More pleasing than the smell of salt water and the rush of wind, is there?
But the bonus is that I've got a merchant which will sell me food after the fact. So if I don't get any food from the food cart, I'll be okay. It's also nice and early in this encounter, so if I wind up losing at the secret society, I'll be able to, you know, I'll just kind of say, well, that's how the game works, and not need to worry about the food cost. So we'll call out and offer help. I've never actually done any of the other options, but in this case, 3 food's okay. I'm not really making back my deficit, but I potentially benefit from the treasure chest. While exploring the dungeon, you see a treasure chest at the end of the hall. The chest may hold great wealth, but the chamber may be trapped. So I will approach the treasure chest. Again, high probability of failure. I was going to do 2, not 3, but oh well. Oh, hang on. CPO, the dark cards meant they were required in the deck for the encounter. Yes, that's definitely true. But the required, like, I guess the big question I would have is I don't quite know why they would need to make that distinction once they're in the game. They also put a little lock over the dark cards that are required as well. But you're right. I could just be reading something. I could be reading more into it than what there is, but I can't remember of a time when I've been ambushed by a light version of the shop. So I'm thinking there's something else that that makes those cards unique. You're gonna stop destroying Dark Dungeon. It's great to have you in here. I like having the chat. I'm not obviously gonna respond to the heifer comments because I don't have anything else to add to it. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. I get, like, you know, I've said this a lot of times, but there's something about having an active chat to be able to respond to, which makes it more enjoyable. Like, this is not just me playing games. I play games far worse when I stream. I don't really know anybody who plays games better when they're streaming. But the fact that I've got people here watching is tremendous on its own. And that people add something to chat means that people are being entertained in addition to what I'm giving. So please continue chatting. All right, the room begins to fill with deadly gas. Attempt to escape. Yeah. Nope. Says, I'm too tired to be... I'm gonna guess that says ass? Sorry, I don't know why it keeps censoring all the words, but... you're off to bed, I smell like poo. Thanks a lot for stopping by. It's great to have you in chat, as always. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see you for Shadowrun on the 20th at 10 in the morning. If it's too early or you're otherwise occupied, completely understand. But always looking forward to seeing you next time, and hopefully I get a chance to catch one of your streams sooner rather than later. I talk so much to see you could make my entire chat a purple wall. Well, challenge accepted. And Lorgosh's sense of humor is so bad, so you leave your comments too little. I'm always happy. Like I said, I'm always happy to. I should have paid attention to the shuffle. I don't even remember what's in here. So I'm going to do this the super scientific way. Everything winds up getting so screwed up whenever I do this. Alright, actually I guess I should show you guys what this looks like, so just a sec. Oops. You guys get to see the madness that's going on my desktop. Alright, so this is the stats program that I use called R. The language is based off of Scheme, or at least inspired by Scheme, so you will give a function. In this case, sample is taking a sample from a predefined set. In this case, I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, representing the cards from left to right. I only need one draw, and it tells me that I should choose number 1. Actually, you know what? I think it's automatically going to give me 1 each time I reset, because I haven't given it a seed. There should be a way for me to reset this. Well, I'll just close it. Let's test a hypothesis. Alright, so we'll try sample C1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it's always going to pick 1. So let's do... I'm not going to bother doing a seed, but let's just do this after 5. So it tells me to pick 2 now. I need to remember to... Well, if I go to random.org, I can just get the draw from them. But anyways, that's the fancy econ nerd's answer to doing random draws when he's not paying attention to how the cards get shuffled. All right, you'll try to make it, should be able to. Awesome, smell like pool. Have a great sleep. Your sense of humor is so bad you leave. Yeah, so I was going to say, Largosh, obviously we welcome... I'm sure everybody's seen my sense of humor on the Quiplash stream, so I'm not entirely sure mine is any better than anybody else's here. So, and Totemos has a dark sense of humor. Sometimes it scares you. Embrace it. And what is this about you being an American overlord? Well, I mean, you've already said it, Dark Duchess. I, for one, welcome our American overlords, or in this case, the singular overlord, the overlady. CPO Williams going to bed early on the 19th for the reason of waking up for that stream. Oh God! So if I don't show up, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. All right. Didn't this fail you last time? Yes, it did, but we're still going to do it, so. Failure! Oh God, so if I went with number 1, the original draw, why did I game it? All right. As you make your way through the clouds, coughing out some of the dangerous gas once you make it out to the other side, the dealer draws you 1 pain card and lose 10 health. I can live with that. You approach the treasure chest. The treasure chest looks battered but still intact. What treasure might it hold? Attempt to pry it open. So in this case, we've got 0.75 chance of success. I hope it's number 2. The what? Ah, God! The treasure chest stubbornly refuses to give away to your attempts. You leave disappointed. Urxie loves Duchess, but not enough to obey her commands. Sounds like a match made in hell. All right, Secret Society, which is the potentially game-losing encounter. Let's see how we fare.
Wager on the outcome. I do not think you have what it takes.
Actually, you know what? They'll probably just kick me out. Down a dark alleyway in the slums of an ancient city, you find a door covered in strange markings. Knock on the door. You knock on the door, and a small creature opens it and looks up at you. The house demon sniffs and says, "Begone, mortal. You have the taint of evil about you, but only the hellish lords and the truly accursed minions may enter this establishment." So apparently I am not cursed enough, and this was a massive waste of time and food. But I won't buy food at the Traveling Mage. Let's see what the sea voyage gives us.
A voyage across the ocean, or merely a trip down the river.
Weak ankles. Players' run speed is reduced by 25%.
I am proud of my array of curses.
Alright.
We are all merely pieces upon the board.
Traveling
The
Jeweler.
circle repeats without end.
In a shady grove.
Does the rook understand the oblivion that engulfs it when it is placed back in the box? Does the king understand that he truly rules over nothing?
A bunch of military brats. Except you actually went through training, so you do know how to hide. Now back to yes, call for an execution, and then back to the things that matter. The brownie. By the way, do either of you watch Jesse Quill? In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find the traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. We will approach the shop. And again, no ambush, so... again, it's definitely a forced card in the deck. And if there's going to be any ambush, it's certainly only a probabilistic one. But it could just be that there's a chance in any encounter. So let's see what items we can buy. Ring of Survival. After every third combat player receives 20 health. Tempting, but not enough to spend money on. Inferno Potion and Lightning Crash. Well, Lightning Crash is kind of tempting, actually. And I'd go for Ring of Poverty, save for the fact that I can't sell anything, so... 50 gold is a lot to spend on a stun, though, so we'll go back. So again, I'm at 4 health. What I'm doing right now is I'm banking on getting some food on these two... piles here. So consider the path that I can take. 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time I run out of food, I'm going to be able to buy some more. And then I head down to the shop and to the right. Now, if I run into the exit along here, this might be a little bit of wasted time. But I'm willing to take these chances. So we've got the Holy Forge. I don't believe we have the ore, though. So on a dusty, lonely plain, you come across the sheltered remains of an old monastery. Searching the building, you meet an old man dressed in dirty robes. We've kind of read this already, so... Now, it looks like I don't get any food by visiting these piles. It seems like it's just gold, so maybe I should just be buying food a little bit more often. But here we've got the tavern.
This token will unlock more cards if you can defeat this encounter.
Oh. There's mint double chocolate chip ice cream downstairs, and you think it's calling for you. See you in a minute. Well, you're probably already dealing with the kitty now, but I hope it gets its sufficient attention. All right. And so she'll be the only orange name to withstand the purple takeover. I see you as green right now, Totemos, actually, but orange harassments. Be right back. CPO's orange to me right now. CPO's also a military brat and trained to be quite adept with a sword, so you think it decides who loses heads. Okay, is there anybody here who does not have a military background other than me? I had applied for the forces and ultimately did not get in. So I don't think that counts. All right, I'm going to help the ship's captain. Let's hope for a huge success so we can get the token, but I tend to be pretty bad with the luck. Let's try straight up number 2. Yes! When you reach the pier and inquire about the drunken wench, only discovered that it is berthed in an abandoned jetty. I'm sorry, lad. I swear I didn't leave her there yesterday. That's the last time I drink Dulzian brandy, that's for sure. The shamefaced captain gets you some supplies for your trouble. The dealer draws you 2 gain cards. So food is desperately needed. 15 food for that, so it paid off. But we don't get the token for some reason, so I apparently want to fail that. CPO, you, my army right meow, please. You have brownies and kitties. Do you have rifles, though? I think that's a bit important for the modern army. But I may be speaking from a position of ignorance. Okay, so there's metal ore here, which is good, so I am willing to make the trip back down to the store so we can head back to the Holy Forge.
A horse is a fine companion. I'm sure you'll
Yep,
be
that's...
one.
You've graduated top of your class in the Navy SEALs. You've been involved in numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda and have over 300 confirmed kills. You were trained in guerrilla warfare. I'm assuming that this means you've also been to the Congo to fight the guerrillas, and you're a top sniper in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. He says with all modesty. Totemos has not had a military background. All right, Totemos, then you and I are you and I are united. And Dark Duchess, all you need is claws because you are a cat. There you go. It may be... See, here's an interesting question about rating your risks. Let's assign, you know, a 0.99 probability that that story is false. But would you really want to mess with... You know, the cost for messing with somebody who's lying about that is negligible. The cost for messing with somebody with that to be true is catastrophic. So, even if you assign a 0.01 probability to that catastrophic failure that the guy is actually telling the truth, you know, does that outweigh the harmlessness of the more probable one? It's an interesting cost-benefit question. And Shady Grove off the... Oh yeah, we've already done this one, so I don't think there was anything that I wanted there, so let's pass it by. I will take a look at the shop, though. You have full 4 bars on your 4G mobile. You still have just 0.8 megs a second. Now, is that specifically from this stream? Because this stream has a very low bit rate, or is that what you're just getting in general for all of your activity? And it's a popular copy and paste from 4chan or Reddit. Yeah, I don't remember where that's from, but I have read that once before. I still don't know if gorilla is deliberately spelt as in gorillas instead of gorilla. But it's funny nonetheless. Even though I don't have the military background, the thesis that I did for my undergrad was about insurgent groups in Pakistan, and my thesis advisor just actually released a paper on small wars and insurgent groups. His paper was clearly heads and shoulders better than mine. Although I noticed that there were a couple of things on there which were roughly motivations and things I'd brought up in my own presentation. So it at least indicated that I was on the right track in terms of how to think about the ideas. But I mean, the econometric work that he did is fantastic. I can never hope to get to that level until I've put in some very serious work with some fairly advanced material. So it's definitely a really interesting paper of his to read, and a fantastic advisor. I couldn't have asked for somebody better. I just wish I was a better student. You know someone who spins the same kind of yarn and has never been in the service? Seen it around too. It's a joke. They have like 2 more paragraphs. Didn't want to spam though. Yep, spam away if you want. If you think it's worth reading, I get a laugh out of stuff like that. So if you want to paste the rest of it, I don't mind. You remember someone took it seriously and just about pissed from laughter? Maybe not that far, but your sides hurt. It's funny. Oh, cool. Okay. So maybe I don't need the extra weapon. I think I already have the Hag's wraps. I mean, these are tempting to get because I've already got the slow. Soldier's Furor. Attack speed is increased by 10%, but...
Success or a faster road to failure. Let us see.
So this is tempting, right? I could go for the Thunder Strike, which is 35, and every strike inflicts lightning damage. Press 1 to strike for a lightning strike around me. But I get a bonus to attack. You know, I think I'm going to go for the lightning strike, even though this is a little bit redundant. Because what's going to happen here is I'm going to get the metal ore and move up to the forge. But in this case, I'm going to get some options for my... I'm going to get some options here in terms of what weapon I choose. Oh my goodness. We have got a Black Dahlia raid coming in here, folks. All right, so we have been talking about a lot of really good streamers. What I should also be doing for the people who are just coming in, I'll do a nice little review of the people who are currently hosting us. I'll try and give some shout outs and credit where credit is due. But let's take a minute here and talk to these beautiful raiders who are stopping by. So we have got Black Dahlia, who is sending his regards. Jazzpoo sending her regards. Mecha Fanboy is coming and sending the Dahlia's regards. Curry Tiger, I don't believe I've seen you here before, Curry Tiger. So thank you, one, for supporting Black Dahlia and hanging out with the raid. We're currently playing Hand of Fate, so I hope you guys get through. My goodness, East Bright Bay. Sorry about that. Let me turn my notifications off again. All right, where were we? Curry Tiger, thank you for stopping by. Shut up, dealer.
I didn't think that meant you'd take forever to make a decision, mind.
CPO, yep, didn't see you there. Renaissance Jack, I remember you. Do we have anybody else here? Hey, Mecha Fanboy. The Dahlias send their League of Nazis. Yeah, for those of you, I will be giving a proper introduction for Black Dahlia, but one thing I will say about him is he plays the Germans in World War II games a little too much for my comfort, to be completely honest with you. Please, you're a Matzi, not a Nazi. Get it right. Mecha, Duchess. Congrats on first stream, by the way, Duchess. Sorry you weren't there. Yes, so that was going to be one of the people who I mentioned. But I will give credit for Black Dahlia first, and we'll go for a review of the streamers. What else do we have here? Didn't have it fully set up anyway. She forgot something. Dealer. Yeah. All right, guys. So Black Dahlia, another member of Team Panda. In fact, sort of I'll call him the captain of the team, let's say, in terms of making sure the trains run on time like Mussolini. He's the guy who kind of I think he's kind of the go-to source for Clara, because obviously she's doing a lot of her own things. Somebody who's ridiculously involved in charity, along with all the other stuff that she's doing through her life. But Black Dahlia is somebody who's been exceptionally helpful in terms of growing the audience and making sure that I always keep coming back. He probably does a better job of promoting my stream than I do, and this is all during the time whenever I come into his chat, I'm usually a sarcastic ass, and whenever I play a co-op game with him, I'm completely... Oh, we've got a follower. Curry Tiger, thank you very much. You're actually the only follower from today, so thank you very much. We were looking at the first stream in a while where we haven't had somebody who's hit that follow button, so thank you very much for showing that support. That means a lot. Again, I don't want to be numbers focused, but it's always nice to have somebody give that show of support there. So despite my completely appalling behavior in his channel, Black Dahlia has tirelessly promoted the channel, always says nice things about my voice, which is always very gratifying. But I clearly don't need to tell the raiders that his channel is a lot of fun. But for those of you who have not had the chance to visit Black Dahlia, he's somebody he has a face cam, he has a very nice microphone, good professional setup. He's been doing this for a while. Oh, ErkC09, thank you very much for hanging out. So you guys are fantastic. Thank you very much. I know you've been here for a little while. I wasn't sure if you had been following before or not, but I definitely appreciate that show of support, especially with bringing something. Being able to see you and Dark Duchess interact is always a lot of fun. It takes some of the pressure off of me to perform. So 2 new followers today. Thank you, guys. I think that brings us to 320 followers, which brings me to the point. I know I'm going to be disrespecting the raid for a little bit because I do want to take a minute to talk about the people who've hosted us tonight. But with that in mind, Black Dahlia, again, despite my appalling behavior, has been somebody who gives me a lot of support. And for himself, for the people who've already come through the channel, you know what you're getting. But in this case here, genuinely a variety caster. somebody who does action first-person shooters, the Call of Duty stuff, a lot better than I do. I tend not to play a lot of first-person shooters, and not for a lack of enjoying them. I actually really enjoy first-person shooters, but I think Dahlia does a better job of it. He's also somebody who's